see we have someone here inside that we're going to hop right into our conversations with. Tio Hardiman, also known as Mr. Ceasefire, is with the Violence Interrupters, president of Violence Interrupters here in the city. And it's super important that we're talking to you today for multiple reasons. One, we're gearing up for a press conference that should be happening within the next 30 minutes or so with the Cook County State's Attorney, Eileen O'Neill Burke, and several other leaders that are going to be announcing a regional task force for rail traffic. And you just had a press conference and where you were addressing violence that's been happening on the transit system. Tell me a little bit about how that press conference went and what made you want to speak out in that way.
Yes, I want to make it clear. Violence Interrupters, we've volunteered on the CTA trains for about 5 years, okay? Number one. So the press conference today was about the CTA buses. There was a young lady that was kidnapped, actually. A guy put a knife against her neck and he actually forced her to drive downtown Chicago. So we're trying to understand the trauma she experienced, and we don't want to see that happen to anybody else. So today we talked about the possibility. We would love to try to secure resources where we can deploy 100 violence interrupters on the CTA buses now. Because the Cook County Sheriff, I must admit, they have done an excellent job of making sure that things are more peaceful on the red line. I have to be honest and say that.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think everyone wants to hear that. Everyone wants that to be the result and wants to be able to see that things are being addressed, not just that crime is happening, but that it's being addressed.
Yeah, because the only thing that's missing, in other words, would be more like a component on the trains where we can catch some of the guys before they have to get arrested. Our job is to try to diffuse conflicts and mediate issues and situations on the trains, because a lot of people on the trains, they have lightweight mental health issues, homelessness issues, drug addiction issues. Then you have some very violent people that board the trains. But right now, the violence has been reduced by about 70 to 80% on the red line so far. Just for today, we're knock on wood.
Well, we hope if we're on the right track, that we stay on the right track, that it continues to go down. Let me ask you this. I mean, when you say diffuse, like how do you train people who come on board with your organization, and how exactly do you all diffuse things?
Well, there's a 40-hour training all staff have to complete before they actually go out and work on the streets. And I want people to know that Violence Interrupters, we're intellectual thought leaders as well. The guys and the young women, they're not just street people. These are people with college degrees in a lot of cases, younger people, some older people, and we train them on what to look for, how to detect a potential conflict on the front end, where we can actually stop it before any shots are fired or before somebody gets hurt. Just to give you a quick example, we boarded the Blue Line a few months ago. A young African-American guy was about to shoot a Caucasian guy, but we still stepped in between both guys and diffused the situations.
Wow.
I'm not going to fake about the story. I want to say this. I never saw the gun, but the guy had something in his backpack, and the way he was talking was real crazy. And the next thing, my guy had to step between the guys, and by the time we made it to the next stop, we escorted the Caucasian guy off the train, and we began to establish a relationship with the other African-American young guy, and we still have a relationship with him today. So that's how you diffuse the conflict, but you continue to provide ongoing services as well.
The regional task force that's being formed for the rails, or really transit as a whole, throughout the city and for the county, do you think that that's enough? Do you think that that's a positive step?
Well, it's important. You cannot just have a law enforcement approach. It's very important to have a community-driven approach as well. We have a faith-based leaders task force already, which was headed up by Pastor Ira Ackery and the Leaders Coalition. They stepped out with us to support the work that we were doing. So it's important to have community organizations at the table so we can catch some of these issues on the front end, because you cannot arrest your way out of an epidemic. Violence and violent behavior has become a lifestyle for some people. So we have to work with the people, meet them where they are, and help them out. For example, Violence Interrupters, we have a caseload of about 160 young people we're working with right now in Chicago. We spend almost 24 hours with the young people. My staff have rotating hours, so we have 24-hour coverage to work with young people. We've mediated this year alone close to about, maybe I would say about 40 conflicts where we stopped somebody from shooting somebody on the front end.
Wow.
It's not newsworthy once you stop it, but when somebody gets shot, then it's on the news all the time.
Well, you're here because that is newsworthy. You're here because stopping it is newsworthy.
That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate the opportunity to share these stories with you, because it's all about stopping the conflicts. And then when you find out a lot of people are suffering from trauma, That's why in the CVI ecosystem, we deal with trauma on a higher level now. People are dealing with all kinds of issues. I had a young guy, he was a prolific carjacker. I want to make that clear. Prolific carjacker at the age of about 18. I told him I couldn't stop him from carjacking because I'm not going to lie to anybody. But I say, every time you carjack somebody, I want you to stop. But every time you carjack somebody, you don't have to hurt that person. So one day he was about to carjack a guy, and the guy did not give his keys up fast enough, and he said he thought about shooting the guy, but he played back what I said to him in the back of his mind, and he decided to let that guy go.
Wow.
That was major for me.
Wow.
That was major. The guy, he would normally hurt somebody, but he decided not to hurt. Now he's not carjacking anymore. I have him working a part-time job.
Wow. Wow.
Seriously.
Well, beautiful work
Yes.
that you all are doing in the community on multiple levels. And, you know, as we get ready for the summertime, I think everyone's mind really does turn to, all right, what is that going to look like? What is needed? What's there? What are the concerns that you have going into the summer months?
Well, the summer months is all about coverage out there in these hot areas. You know, Chicago is made up of 77 communities. 17 communities comprise of most of the violence, right? So it's important to have 24-hour coverage with the high-risk individuals out there that you're working with. So therefore, because it's not like nobody's going to call you all the time and say, I'm about to shoot somebody. It's important to have boots on the ground so you can intercept whispers so you can get in and make things right. Because if you don't catch it on the front end, now you're going to come back and try to prevent retaliation. So the main thing is identify the hotspot areas and put that 24-hour coverage out there on a regular basis, especially as we go into the Memorial Day weekend. It's very, very important because sadly in Chicago, some holiday weekends, we have a stretch where you have a whole lot of a rash of violence, in other words. So we want to just definitely stop it on the front end.
So for Memorial Day weekend, what specific things will you all be doing?
Now, we've organized events. We have conflict resolution seminars. We have peace circles that we've organized right in the community, outdoor peace circles in the community. We've organized some type of engagements with the high-risk youth we're working with. We plan to keep them busy by taking them out to the movie, taking them out to dinner. So we're not just out there talking. Our plate is full. I just want to say that. But most important, we're collaborating with other organizations throughout the city. So it's not just about violence in the workplace. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
If you don't collaborate, you're not going to really be successful. So you have about 400 outreach workers on the streets over this weekend in violence interrupters.
Yeah.
You have organizations that are organizing several events over this holiday weekend to make sure we had a 24-hour coverage.
And do you find, we see your face very
Yes.
often when things are going on. Do you find that when you do your press conferences, when you do interviews, that you do have some people who come to you and say, I want to join this effort,
Yes.
I want to help you do what you do and make our community better?
All the time. We have volunteers that have stepped up, but we're the guys that go into just like the fireman or police that goes into an active shooting scene, right? We the guys that people call to go and stop the killings. It's a science of stopping killings, okay? So we don't have no problem going in, talking to people, meeting them where they are, joining their world and bringing them into our world. So a lot of people definitely want to volunteer. So when you save a life, it's like right now, over the last 20 years, I've had guys come up to me and women. They say they were like probably 18 at the time, or they're probably 30 now or whatever. Man, you saved my life 15 years ago.
What does that mean to you?
It's deep. Yeah, it's deep. Because the thing is, it shows over time that the strategy worked. I had a guy, when I met him around maybe 20 years ago, some guys that beat him up so bad his head was all swollen up. He works at United Airlines now. 20 years later, he's out the way. He called me, man, it made me feel good.
As it
He's
should.
doing good, yeah.
Yeah. Why are you so invested in this work?
Well, I come up in the heart of the ghetto. I'm going to just say that. I come up in the Henry Hornet Project in Avalon Park. They call it Lion City on the south side. I witnessed a lot of violence growing up. So my thing is, I know a lot of lives can be saved if you had the right people talking to the individuals. I know this for a fact because a lot of these killings out here are a lot of misunderstandings, misperceptions. It's a culture of violence. I tell young people all the time, let it go. You just had 4 or 5 young men convicted for killing a rapper named Fulio out of Florida, right? These guys are being sentenced to life in prison without parole. They're gone for the rest of their life. They're like in their 20s. They'll be gone, man. If they live to be 80, they'll still be in jail. So I'm telling young people, the main job for a young man is to kind of like work on building a family, work a job, stay in school. And I'm not just preaching to you. That's the job of a man. Build a life legacy like your parents did, and for the young ladies as well. So the fulfillment I get out of the work is saving lives and helping people become productive members of society.
What do you think? I mean, we're talking specifically or predominantly
Okay.
about addressing the issues on transit, again, with you,
Right.
boarding the buses, with the Cook County State's Attorney, with this regional transit task force for transit-related crimes.
Right.
But there's also an issue that we've been talking a lot about the takeovers that
Yes.
have been happening. Some of that spills over onto transit.
For sure.
Do you feel like the city is doing enough to curb that?
Well, the city is doing the best they can do. You have to understand there's an 85% unemployment rate in Chicago for African American youth males between the ages of 16 and 25. You can look the numbers up. So idle time is like a devil's workshop. So the teen takeovers, really, it's more like it shows you there's a collapse in leadership in the African American community. Some people might disagree with me, but they need to show me different then, because young people out here hanging out doing whatever they feel they want to do. So it's about parenting, and it's about, see, I've recommended this to the mayor on several occasions. There's a need to open up about 4 or 5 24-hour recreational centers here in Chicago. We're spending money on a lot of different things in Chicago already. So let's open up the rec centers and have it where about 300 or 400 young people can go there at one time for 24 hours. Let's work with them, keep them busy. Violence interrupters over the Memorial Day holiday weekend, we plan to keep our clients busy, our participants, as much as we can. Because, like I said, once again, an idle time leads to like all kinds of chaos. So that's one solution right there. The teen takeovers will not really come to an end until black men step up. I just have to be straight over everybody and take over their community in a positive way.
And you think
In a
it's
positive
just
way.
black men that need to step up?
Well, the women have been stepping up all the time. They have. I have to give credit to the women. See, the women have always stepped up. Right now, black men have to come back and reclaim their communities. I'm not saying put your foot down on young people. What I'm saying, let's meet with the young people, see what else we can do to help them become more productive members of society and just work things out. Because the teen takeovers can turn violent at any time. People have lost their lives during the teen takeovers. And then you have working class people that feel threatened when they see all the young people, coming around like that. So it's important to kind of we need wraparound services to really like fill out what's going on in the minds of the young people.
And because you do have conversations with those in leadership in the city, do you feel like the level of wraparound services is where it needs to be?
Yeah. Let me be honest. The state, the city, the county, they're doing the best they can do. The state is funding all kinds of initiatives out here, like victim service support, case management support, outreach support. The state, they also, Attorney General's office, they actually provide funding to bury people. It's unfortunate we have to bury people, but there's funds out there to support the process. So I must admit, I have to give credit where it's due. I may not agree with all the politicians all the time, but the city, state, and the county, they're doing the best they can do. All the programs that are working out there, they're receiving some type of funding. Then you have the philanthropic community, they're kicking in as well to some degree. But right now we need more boots on the ground. When you have an 85% unemployment rate for African American young men between the ages of 16 and 25, more work needs to be done to hire those guys directly. We should come up with a plan to hire those individuals. See, what I would like to do might sound, it's not controversial. I would love to hire all the carjackers, all the shooters out here in Chicago, get them with me, let me deal with them on a daily basis, and my staff deal with them. Then we can make a big change in Chicago. Trust me, a lot of guys may not want to work. I volunteer in Cook County Jail sometimes. One young guy told me, some of them guys, you can give them a job going to sleep, and they'll wake up out there asleep and quit the job. That's what a young guy told me. All right. So what I'm saying, give me the resources to hire the carjackers and the shooters in Chicago. I'm not trying to be easy on them, don't get me wrong. I believe in second chances, but if you go out there and pick up a gun, that's on you. That means you made a big boy choice to pick up a gun. If you get the police catch you, that's on you, right? But my thing is, if we can stop them, and make sure, not just me, don't just give me the resources, make sure that other organizations receive resources as well. Let's just go out there and hire all those guys.
You mentioned, believing that everyone deserves a second chance.
Right.
And of course, some of the issues, again, going back to rail, but even beyond, the transit system throughout our area, some of the issues people have with when we have major crimes that happen is not just the crime itself. Sometimes the crime is heinous in and of itself, and we have to call it that. But a big point of contention for a lot of people is the criminal history.
Yes.
The long-standing criminal history of some of the people that are committing the crime that then gets on the news. What are your thoughts on the second, third, 50th try?
But no, you have to make a decision as a as a judge or as a prosecutor, even as community individuals, see, we cannot keep holding people's hands. If you continue to break the law, that's on you. So you have to, what they call it in restorative justice, and some people think restorative justice is like soft on crime. It's not about that. It's about acknowledging the wrong you had caused and trying to heal, trying to like repair the harm. So some people definitely deserve a second chance, but I'm not here to take up. If you kill somebody first-degree murder, I'm not taking up for you. If you kill somebody second-degree murder, I'm not taking up for you. My thing is just try to stop it. Try not to cross that line, because if it's not worth taking a life, leave it alone. I say this to young people all the time in the strongest possible way. So now we're not trying to be weak on crime. What we're saying is let's work it out, because I guarantee you 90% of the people locked up, they wish they can turn back the hands of time. Those guys in them prisons crying crocodile tears right now. I'm telling you what I know, not what somebody told me. I've been working with some brothers down there. They call me all the time. They're locked up in Miami Correctional Center in Indiana. They say it's been about 5 or 6 homicides down there, even though the prison's on lockdown, and 2 or 3 suicides. People are struggling in them penitentiaries, locked down 23 hours a day. I mean, why would you want to trade your life in from being free on the streets to go to the penitentiary and sit in a cell 23 hours a day around men the rest of your life? So I have to talk to guys that way, because some people think that the culture of violence is the only way. You see a lot of guys involved in a violent lifestyle, they get a lot of streams on their social media. So we need there's another solution that we need to really address. There should be a campaign to kind of reverse that culture of violence. You need brothers like myself and other brothers that think, and women, just talking against all that culture of violence, letting people know it's positive ways to handle conflict. It's okay that you might have a disagreement. You don't have to allow the disagreement to turn deadly. Some people don't see on a scale, an anger scale from 1 to 10, most people on 9.5. So any slight disagreement will cause a person to want to hurt you. That's why we treat violence as an infectious disease, because it's in the mind. Then you have psychopaths out here, sociopaths out here. So it's a lot of work that has to be done. But you cannot do this work if you don't understand what I'm talking about. See, it's a culture thing. I understand, I've been immersed in that culture before, I understand it, but at the same time, I don't really promote the culture at all, because I want to see young men and young women win. I don't want to see them locked up.
Well, we thank you for what you do, you and all those who work with you. I want to circle back to your press conference today one more time, and just one more time let everyone know what you all are getting ready to do.
So the press conference today was all about violence interrupters boarding some of the CTA bus lines, because we've had a rash of violence in some of the areas where the buses travel through, especially with the young lady that was kidnapped, number one. So that was the purpose of the press conference today. We also wanted to commend the Cook County Sheriff's Office for their work on the CTA red line in particular, because see, when we speak up, see what happens when we speak up for the passengers, now all of a sudden a lot of changes have been made so the passengers feel safer, just for today. But I want to say this to make it clear too. We cannot rest on our laurels right now, because just because it's peaceful does not mean something cannot happen at any given time. A lot of times when it's quiet, that's when something can occur. That's why it's important to hit them streets. And the Memorial Day weekend, we plan to have, like I say, a lot of boots on the ground. But at the same time, CTA, we all have to do a better job out here. There was no way in the world that a bus driver should have been held kidnapped. Okay.
Happened last week. She was thankfully able to get out of the bus, crawled out of the bus, and several other people were able to crawl out of the bus as well, I think through windows. So a horrifying situation, but glad that they were able to get out of it. Thank you again for what you and your team do on a regular basis, and thank you for being here with us.
Appreciate you so much.
We appreciate it. All right, Teal Hardiman again, president of Violence Interrupters. It's 1:19. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back.
Cool. Okay, got to turn that okay?
Welcome back, everyone. It's 1:21 right now, and one of the things that let me go over a few of the other things that we're waiting on. I mentioned to you as we were speaking with Tio before the break that we are still awaiting a press conference from Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke. That should be happening somewhere around 1:30, where they are going to be announcing a regional transit task force, a collaborative effort to combat transit-related crime in Chicago and throughout Cook County. So again, we're standing by, waiting on that to begin. Just as soon as it begins, we will take you there live. But getting into our next conversation here, grease and debris. We see it, we know that it goes somewhere, right? It doesn't just end in your home, and it's reportedly clotting sewers around the world on a colossal scale. In fact, cities are deploying some new technologies to control what's been described as a modern menace. This issue of not icebergs that we see in places like Antarctica, but what they call fatbergs. So we're checking in with the Chicago Department of Water Management to find out more about what's behind the fatbergs and the status of our systems here at home. We have Commissioner Randy Connor, who is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Have you, for your department, I mean, do you all call them fatbergs?
No, we don't call them fatbergs. What's interesting enough is that I just heard the term about a week ago to try to see exactly what it is. And when I did my research, I realized that it's literally a clog in the sewer system comprised of grease and some other things.
Mm-hmm. How big of an issue is it in Cook County or in the city of Chicago?
You know, in the city of Chicago, we haven't really seen those issues. Our inspectors do a really, really good job of keeping up with the restaurant districts, which is where we see the majority of the problems when it comes to grease and issues in our sewer system. And once we find them, we go around the area and we talk to the restaurant owners and just let them know what not to pour down the drain and make sure that they are following the city regulations as far as it goes with grease disposal. And if they aren't, then we cite them and we keep citing them until they follow. They start following the rules.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some people have called this mixture of fat, oil, grease, wet wipes, and other sanitary products, a magical mixture, if you will, that hardens like concrete. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. As we did our research on this, it's again fats, oils, grease, baby wipes, oversized towels, dental floss. A lot of things go into it, and once they mix together with all of the other things that come through the sewer system, they harden. And then once they harden, they start to basically create a dam in the sewer system, which eventually backs up into people's homes.
Oh my goodness. So what are some of the things, I mean, you mentioned the restaurant industry, but like, what are the things that homeowners that we need to be doing differently or that we need to keep in mind?
Just keep in mind, if you can't put it in the sink, you can't put it in the toilet. And if you can't put it in the toilet, you definitely cannot put it in the sink. We tell people all the time, don't pour fats, oils, and greases into the sink. Again, because they're hot when they go down. Once they get into the system and mix with other things, they will clog up the system. And not only just the city system itself, but it'll clog up your personal system. And that's when you'll start to see backups in the home when you start to flush the toilet or when you start to try to run your water and water, it just won't exit the system.
So, mind you, okay, you told us where not to put them. What should people be doing with them?
They should actually put them in a can and actually dispose of them properly. Usually grease and oils and things of that nature, you could take them to recycling places and they'll take them. If it's something that you just can't get rid of, usually here for sure in Chicago, 311, you could dial 311 and we have a disposal for everything under the sun, whether it's grease, whether it's oil, whether it's wet wipes, whether it's electronics, anything. We have the proper way of disposing of those things here.
So I'm seeing New York City, for instance. 40% of sewer backups are 40% of sewer backups due to grease. They spend around $18.8 million annually degreasing and removing blockages from the sewers beneath its streets. Does that number sound at all close to what's going on in Chicago?
Not at all. So ours is probably more like 5 to 10% of what we see in our sewers. Again, we once we find that issue in the area, and we can usually pretty much pinpoint where it's coming from, because once we start our investigation, then we get the Department of Environment involved, we get the Department of Streets and Sanitation involved, and other sister agencies, which gives us more authority to get into these businesses or even into these homes to see exactly what the issues are. Now, the one thing that we will do is once we clear the issue, we will back charge the resident, or we will back charge the business owner, but we will also shut their water off because it now becomes a sanitary issue.
And I mentioned in my intro to you that like new technology that some areas around the world are turning to help fight this. Are you all using newer technology, or like what newer ways are you all using of combating this issue?
So the good thing about it is that we have about 4,600 miles of sewer that we inspect annually. And when we see things like that, we do what we can. For instance, we have a very aggressive sewer cleaning program, which involves going in with high-powered jets to try to clear all the debris and any grease, any oil that will clog the system. But again, it all goes back to, we're kind of old school. Our system is gravity fed. We don't have a lot of pumps, and the way our city is set up, all of our businesses are basically conglomerates in one area, so we can kind of pinpoint. Even with the homes, again, once we get into the system, we will use cameras to go into the system, and when we find blockages, if we can usually pinpoint where those blockages started.
Let me ask you about, we were talking about newer technology. What about all of the newer companies that advertise that their items can go down the drains, that their items are flushable, that there are flushable wipes? I mean, are they just kind of filling our heads up with nonsense, or is that an exact science?
It is definitely not an exact science. You even find that some toilet paper, depending on what it's made with and depending on how much you use, it's once it goes into the system, sometimes it will expand and it will get caught on other things. Being flushable doesn't mean that it is biodegradable. It just means that it'll fit through the toilet and get into the sewer system itself. That's all it means. So what we've been trying to do is go on a campaign, even here, to talk about what is exactly flushable, and what are those things that are flushable? Just water. That's it, and that's basically it, is what's flushable. Again, that's why it takes a city, or it takes a company, or it takes an area to really take a look at how their sewer system works, to be able to get eyes on it and to be able to survey it to make sure that you are not getting those backups and those clogs in the sewer system.
Wow, very interesting for you to say that, because there are so many that now say like, oh, you can use this, it'll go down, but great perspective that most of us wouldn't have just hearing the advertisement.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it will flush, but the problem is that because there are so many other things in the sewer system that they will get caught on, whether it's a twig or whether it might be a pipe that's out of place. And then once that item gets caught, it starts to catch other things, and that's how these fatbergs actually start. If you have a piece of dental floss, something as small as dental floss that's in there, if it gets caught on, if the fat's going by and it stops there and it gets hard, then that starts to build a dam. So again, yes, it's flushable, but the question is it biodegradable?
Great speaking with you today. Thanks so much for your time. This was really interesting information, and I'm glad to at least hear that Chicago is maybe faring better than at least our friends in New York, but it seems like many other places as well, that maybe we're ahead of the curve.
What we try to pride ourselves on is being very proactive opposed to reactive, especially when it comes to our sewer system, because it's over 150 years old. So we want to make sure that we get another 100 years of useful life out of it. So we try to inspect it, we try to repair it, try to do everything we can to ensure that the sewer system stays intact. And even if it comes down to educating homeowners, educating business owners, just overall education of people, period. Even when it comes down to people that are of my generation or your generation, we're kind of set in our ways when it comes to certain things. So we've started going into the grammar schools and the high schools to really educate them on what to do and what not to do with the sewer system.
Training them up young. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thank you for what you do on a regular basis for the city.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
You as well. Thank you.
1:31, and again, I remind you, everyone, we are waiting on the Cook County State's Attorney, Eileen O'Neill Burke, to begin her press conference where they will be announcing this new Regional Transit Task Force. Think about the issues, the crimes that we have been reporting on in the last several months, and definitely in the last few weeks that have been taking place on our transit system. So this is supposed to be addressing that for Chicago and Cook County. We're waiting on it to begin. Should be happening any minute, and just as soon as it does, we will take you there live. Let's get in a quick 2-minute break. Oh, they are beginning, so we'll listen in.
To get to school, visitors rely on it to see all the attractions that we have in this city. But it's not just the riders that need to be safe. The workers on our transit system deserve to have a safe working environment. This system runs because of their dedication. Earlier this year, we launched an internal task force at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office where we brought together state's attorneys from all over our office and investigators to ensure that all transit-related offenses are prosecuted effectively. As part of that effort, we partnered with CPD and the CTA to train assistant state's attorneys to serve as specialists on transit crimes, equipping them with additional skills and knowledge to understand what technology and evidence is available to us. In every case involving a felony committed on public transportation, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office requests detention. Since I took office, state's attorneys have requested detention in 348 felony cases involving crimes committed on the CTA. Judges have granted those requests 81% of the time. Thanks to the collaboration with law enforcement and President Learson, we are beginning to see progress. As of May 10th, violent crime on public transportation is down 22% compared to this time last year. But that is not good enough. This is not a job accomplished moment. In order to make this system as safe as possible, we need to continue to expand our work so that everyone feels safe on public transit. Today, we're expanding that work by announcing the formation of the Cook County State's Attorney's Regional Transit Task Force, or the RTTF. The RTTF brings together local and federal law enforcement partners, prosecutors, and transit experts to strengthen prosecutions. The task force mission is clear: promote public safety on transit systems by working in collaboration together. In addition to our partners at the CTA, the task force will include the Chicago Police Department, the Cook County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Metra, and PACE. This task force will meet regularly to identify the problems that we're seeing and work together for solutions that will protect transit riders and workers. I know that by continuing to work together and strengthen the partnerships with CTA, RTTF members, and law enforcement, we will continue our progress in making our public transportation safe for transit workers, our residents, and our visitors. When we get all oars in the water, rowing in the same direction, we can make significant progress. So with that, I am going to hand it over to the Cook County Sheriff's Office Chief of Police, Art Jackson.
Good afternoon. My name is Art Jackson. I'm the Chief of the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department. The Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Tom Dart, we are committed to continue collaboration with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and all of our law enforcement partners to reduce crime on the CTA. We have a great working relationship and a collaborative relationship with the State's Attorney's Office and our local partners, the Chicago Police Department, State Police, Metra, and the CTA. That is all that I have for you today. So I will introduce CTA Acting President, Nora Learson. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief Jackson. And thank you, State's Attorney Burke, for your leadership in convening this task force. This is a significant and important step to ensuring the safety and security of CTA's riders and employees. The CTA is the lifeblood of our city. Thanks to the 24-hour-a-day work of over 11,000 dedicated CTA employees, we move 1 million people every day through their lives. It is an incredible responsibility that we take extremely seriously. Our buses and trains are the reason people can pursue their dreams, access healthcare and education, and of course, we are at the center of what we know will be an extraordinary summer in our great city of Chicago. The vitality of CTA's system is absolutely critical to the success of our regional economy, and that is why efforts like this one will have such a far-reaching impact. Since taking over as leader of this agency just over a year ago, I've been laser-focused on enhancing the safety and security of our system. As a daily rider myself, and throughout the 500 rides I have taken in the past year, I know firsthand the importance that riders know that their experience and their safety and security is central to the decision-making and policies of our leaders. And that is what you see here. What you are witnessing here today is an unprecedented level of commitment, resources, and work focused entirely on the safety of the riding public. Across agencies, departments, and law enforcement entities, our collaboration is deeper than ever. State's Attorney Burke's leadership on this issue is central to that effort, and we at CTA are very grateful. I also want to thank the Chicago Police Department and Superintendent Larry Snelling, whose leadership has moved forward this historic focus on enhancing safety and security at CTA. This is just the latest in our close partnership with the Chicago Police Department. Last year, CPD opened a CTA-focused Strategic Decision Support Center to support both real-time policing and investigative efforts. And beginning last spring, CPD began a data-informed, mission-driven focus across our system in partnership with us. And we are seeing results. The statistics that CPD released this month show clearly promising trends. A comparison to April of this year to April of last year shows some dramatic improvements. The latest data shows over a 70% drop in serious crime on the South Red Line between Roosevelt, this station, and 95th Street, and a nearly 40% decline in serious crimes on our bus system. And thanks to our coordinated, data-driven security strategy, system-wide crime numbers are also down. We've seen a 47% drop in serious crime system-wide, and a 64% decrease in all property-related crime. I also want to acknowledge the support of the Cook County Sheriff's Police, who began deploying onto CTA in late March as part of the implementation of our latest security plan. But achievements like this require sustained, ongoing effort to continue the positive trends, and the regional task force being announced today is key to that effort. We cannot let up on the work to ensure safety on CTA. Moving forward, CTA will serve as a vital partner in strengthening public transit safety by providing critical information, evidence, and resources to this task force. We are fully committed to ensuring open communication and the seamless exchange of any data needed to advance the task force mission. What I want riders to know is that we are working for you every day to ensure that CTA is the thriving, beautiful system that make us all so proud to be Chicagoans. And with that, I'll turn it back over to State's Attorney Burke.
Any questions? That task force is not formulated as of yet. We decided that there was a great and urgent need to get ahead of this right now. I fully anticipate that we will also be included in that task force, but I don't know when that will be. This one is meeting next week. So we are going to start the work right now. The members that I just detailed are the members of this task force. So first of all, your question has about 12 different layers to it, Charlie, so I'm going to start with a couple of the top ones. The first one is felony crimes. Felony crimes that occur in the CTA, we are going to be going in to first appearance court. Keep in mind, we need to go into first appearance court within 48 hours. So that's why this is so important to have the open lines of communication so that we can put forward the best evidence possible to a judge so that they can determine what the basis of we think they are a danger is. And the more that we can do that, the more effective we are going to be, not just in prosecutions, but in ensuring that people who present a danger to the public are detained. So that's the first one with felonies. Second one is with mental health and those issues. We have an entire mental health crew, and we have programs that are dedicated to mentally ill people. We need to have a prosecution happen, sometimes as a misdemeanor, in order to be able to provide those services to people. So yes, we will be prosecuting misdemeanors. We will be prosecuting all different types of crimes on this. Our focus right now is making sure that those who present the biggest danger to the public are detained. Yes, there are a lot of transit experts. I didn't know this. There's a lot of transit groups that are very, very interested in this topic. And yes, we will be seeking out their input and their involvement in this as well. So the reason behind this is we did our internal task force. We took supervisors from all over the office and investigators, and we started working with CTA and CPD saying, okay, there's a lot of technology here. We have to make sure, one, that we have an open avenue to get that technology, and two, that we know exactly how to present that in court. That was so successful that we said we need to expand this to the entire region, and that's where the Regional Transit Task Force came from. We have seen very good results with our internal task force, and now it's time to expand it. It's very difficult, and I think anybody who's listened to anything I've been saying since I got in office will tell you how frustrating that is. So first of all, we will ask for detention, and we will put forward every single basis we can on what the basis for believing that person is a danger. But if a judge does not agree with us that that person presents a danger and they release them either on electronic monitoring or simply released into the public, we will be asking for an order from the court that that person is no longer allowed. It's called a stay-away order. They are no longer allowed on that bus line or at that train station. And the reason for that is because they're very likely to re-traumatize and re-victimize people at the exact same place. So there is a twofold way that we are approaching this in first appearance court, but our first priority is going to be with violent offenders, making sure they are detained. There are two ways to deter crime: the likelihood of being caught and the likelihood of being punished. By working with law enforcement, we are upping the likelihood in both scenarios. We are upping the likelihood that someone will be caught, and we are upping the likelihood that someone will be punished. That's what I want to send to the writing public, that we have heard you, we share your concerns, and we are doing everything we possibly can to make this the safest big city in America. And that starts with our transit system.
Could you talk a little bit about
We have worked with our federal partners, with ATF and DEA and multiple other agencies, because sometimes we have contemporaneous jurisdiction. Both the feds have jurisdiction and the state has jurisdiction. By working together as a collaboration, we can figure out who is best suited for this type of case. This is an attempt to make sure that everybody who has a vested stake here is collaborating and working together. I'm not worried about overloading the system right now. I am worried about a public transit system that does not have adequate protections for people riding it. If somebody is smoking or doing a misdemeanor on that, that's still a crime, and we will still prosecute those crimes. It's a stay-away order. Anytime someone is released from custody prior to trial, they can be placed on conditions. One of the conditions they would be placed on is that they are not allowed to go to that particular bus line or that particular train station. If they violate it, it's a violation of their release. And we will also be pursuing those. Well, first of all, CTA has a lot of technology that is apparent and that helps us build our prosecutions. So we need to know exactly what's there. That's why we brought our task force into CTA, so that we could study exactly what they have. What is the video capability? What is the gunshot detection technology? What is the facial recognition technology? So not only will we know what they have, but we're going to know how to get it into evidence in a court of law. So that was the purpose of it, is making sure that all avenues of communication are open and we can get access to that information as quickly as possible. Oh, I'm going to defer to Nora on this one.
Officers on CTA come from the Chicago Police Department, our primary law enforcement partner, from our Voluntary Special Employment Unit, as well as from the Public Transit Unit. You're also going to see district police from the Chicago Police Department on our system. And then beginning in March, we saw the addition of Cook County Sheriff's Police that were on the system as well. So those are the primary entities that are on the ground working.
Okay, so the federal partners would basically be called in for just some sort of special assignments.
Those are not part of our regular day-to-day deployments.
Just quickly, zero eyes. Have you guys put any further efforts into exploring that avenue, the AI?
We continue to have Zero Eyes on our system. It currently has been expanded to all of our City of Chicago stations, across all of the cameras in those stations. It's one tool amongst many that's really capitalizing on our state-of-the-art cameras, over 39,000 of them across our system. We're continuing to see some positive results from that. We're going to continue to track it. And that's exactly the type of program that's going to come up in this type of discussion, to see what should have continued investment and what else we should invest in. Looking forward, we are always looking at different ways to deploy on CTA. Law enforcement is absolutely the primary component of ensuring safety and security on CTA. You'll see in the legislation, the NEDA legislation contemplates a transit ambassador program and other non-law enforcement resources. At CTA, we're also conducting pilots to try out some of those other resources. So we're going to continue to learn from that work and build on what other resources can be added to that foundation of law enforcement.
Thank you.
Okay, so we just listened in there to the press conference we've been waiting on. Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke, joined there by the acting president of the Chicago Transit Authority, Nora Learson, and Cook County Sheriff's Office Chief of Police, Arthur Jackson, as they announced this new regional transit task force for the city of Chicago and all of Cook County, a collaborative effort to combat transit-related crime, as we have seen so often the case. Attorney Burke said that two things deter crime: the likelihood of being caught and the likelihood of being punished, and they're trying to increase the likelihood of both of those things. She said that for anyone who is listening, that they have heard you, that they share your concerns about the many crimes we have seen, and that they are doing everything they can to make this the safest big city in America, and that starts with the transit system. So when they started to get into things here, she says that there was a great urgent need to get ahead of things right now, and that this task force that they just announced that they are going to start meeting next week, that it's about protecting riders, but even protecting workers. Again, if you think about my conversation with Theo Hardiman just a short while ago as we began the show, and his organization was addressing a worker, a worker who had been held hostage on a bus, a transit bus here. So this is about addressing the needs of workers and riders as well. She talked about the fact that there are assistant ADAs who have become specialists for transit crime technology. They're looking at and how to use that as evidence, that they need to know what all the resources are, but also how to use those in the court of law, and that they have had in her time, which she's coming up on a year now, that in her time in office, there have been 348 requests of detention, and that judges have complied 81% of the time. And in fact, if you heard there's sort of towards the end of that news conference, one of the reporters was asking specifically about the electronic monitoring that has become a super hot topic in the last several weeks, when we had a very horrible situation that happened on one of the trains, and then you find out, well, not just the train system, but then also even the loss of one of our CPD officers recently. In both of those cases, the people were on electronic monitoring, and you start to wonder about that whole system of electronic monitoring. She says they're going to be asking for stay-away orders, that if a judge doesn't comply with the request of detention for someone and allows them to go about their life until trial, that they're going to ask for a stay-away order, which means that they wouldn't be able to board transit, whether that's the train or a bus, in that time frame, because there is the likelihood that they would reoffend, and in that same space maybe where they caught a charge to begin with. So she says that as of May 10th, crime on the transit system is down 22% from this time last year, but that's not good enough. I mean, obviously, it's a step in the right direction, but her words, that's not good enough. And so they're continuing to expand this work. So this transit task force, it's CPD, it's the Sheriff's Office, ATF, DEA, Metro, PACE, CTA, all of it. They say that our transit system moves 1 million people daily, from buses to trains, and so 47% even, they have seen a 47% decline in serious crime system-wide, but they need to do more work. So they have a lot to do, but this would be maybe a step in the right direction, that they're all coming together to try to figure out some solutions. Again, that was Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke, acting president of the Chicago Transit Authority, Nora Learson, and then the Cook County Sheriff's Office Chief of Police, Arthur Jackson. So listening into that, we'll continue to have more coverage of that. I believe we have a reporter on that for our later show, so you can look for more information coming from them starting at 4 o'clock. We have a couple of other things that are happening live, though, right now. I'm seeing that there's a wildfire in the Simi Valley in California. Oh, man. We have had so much rain in our area, well, today, but of course over the course of April especially. But we've had several conversations with our meteorologist about, well, look at that. Even as they zoom out, that charred area, that is significant. That is significant. And you can see the hot spots. Not sure what the containment is right now on this fire. I'm kind of looking to see how much they have it, but they say it's a fast-moving wildfire that's erupted here. So Simi Valley, that's Ventura County. They're doing evacuation orders right now, warning people in that area. Wind-driven brush fire. It's burning several structures, threatening hundreds of homes in this area. Broke out around 10:50 this morning their time, so they're a couple of hours behind us. Spread to 180 acres already. 0% containment. You can see even the first responders in planes that are coming in to drop in water. At least 200 firefighters on scene, in the air, on the ground, dropping that water, trying to put out this wind-fueled fire before it spreads to any other structures, any other vegetation. Large plumes of smoke there for miles. At least 2 structures, including a home, and several vehicles have burned already. You can see them actively working to bring in water to drop on these areas. And they're already giving warnings to Thousand Oaks area, if you're familiar with this Ventura County in California. They say weather is a factor in the fire. They have a wind advisory in this area. Wind gusts of up to 25 miles per hour have helped to spread the flames. Again, looking at places like Oak Park, Thousand Oaks, starting to give warnings to those folks in those areas. But already having done a lot of damage, as you can see there. Lots of smoke in the air. Lots of smoke in the air. Again, 200 firefighters that are already on this. As you zoom out, you can see why there's the need for that large of a presence, and you can imagine that they will probably have even more coming out very soon. 180 acres that's burned already, and hasn't even been burning for that long. But because of the wind in the area, that's an added issue for them today, with a wind advisory in the area when you have this kind of fire. So again, this is what we're watching in Simi Valley. Evacuation orders, they're dropping that water, trying to get this fire in some kind of containment. But as of right now, I'm seeing 0 containment. So hopefully that changes very soon. As we can see, they're actively working on this, but also you can see right on your screen the issue that is pretty significant for this area. We'll continue to check back and see if we get some new information in the 2 o'clock hour. But give us 2 minutes, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:02. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in this next hour here on Chicago Live. We appreciate everybody who started with us in the 1 o'clock hour, and we had some good conversations really about things that are happening in our area when it comes to the transit system, especially whether it's the rail system or the buses. Some good conversations about how to make things better moving forward. So that was our first hour. We're getting into some other things here in this hour ahead. And so as I'm looking ahead, I'm seeing here we have a conversation about dark matter and quite the interesting take on things. You don't want to miss that. It's coming up around 2:30. If you recognize this name, Michio Kaku, Professor Michio will be on the show right around 2:30. We're also going to talk about Schlitz beer, very popular as well, but there is a turn of events. And so we've got to tell you more about that around 2:15 about what's going on. This beer that made Milwaukee famous, and maybe a sign of the times, so we shall see. But first, I don't know if you've ever donated a car for charity. I have. You always hope in your heart that you're doing something that could be especially helpful to people in the end, that you no longer have a need for this car, and that by donating it, just as if you would donate clothes or if you would donate coats, we ask for coats in the wintertime, all of those types of things, that it's going to the correct purpose. There is a lawsuit right now that's putting that in question, at least for one company. And we have Anthony Graham, managing partner at Graham & Associates, here to tell us more about this lawsuit about cars for kids and a judge barring cars for kids from broadcasting what they call misleading ads in California. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Most people know the jingle for Cars for Kids, and have for many years. Tell us what the problem is here. What is misleading?
What's misleading is that the ad suggests that Cars for Kids takes your car, monetizes it, and then uses those funds to help needy, underprivileged kids in your area, in this case, California. As it turns out, that's not true. They actually have, and Ms. Landau, the COO of Cars for Kids, admitted this on the stand, they have no substantive programs in California. And in fact, she admitted that's not what Cars for Kids does. They're not in the business of helping needy or underprivileged children. A phrase she used a large number of times was Cars for Kids funds URA, which is a sister organization operated out of the same building in New Jersey and run by family members. The son, whose name is Rabbi Eliyahu Mintz, runs Cars for Kids. His father runs URA. And the funds are used for various purposes, none of which have anything to do with helping needy children. The media have focused on the fact they're Jewish organizations. That's not really what the case didn't really have anything to do with that. There's nothing wrong with what they do. What's wrong is misleading advertising. They left out the information any normal person would need to know whether or not they want to provide their car to help an organization like URA doing what it does. For me, what matters is one person can make a difference. Here, Bruce Putabor, a retired gentleman who gave his car in good faith, thinking what he was going to get was some satisfaction, helping children in his area or his state. And he was shocked to discover that that's not actually what they do. So the case is really about him and about advertising, which has, in this case, misled the people of California for close to a quarter of a century. And they make a lot of money in California, a minimum of $30 to $40 million every year. And it's been going on decades. When I was brought the case, I was shocked to discover, number one, what they're really doing, and number two, that no one's done anything about it. And it took Bruce, and he's not a young man, it took him to come forward and say, I want to put a stop to it. And the court agreed with us. You said something interesting, that everyone had heard this jingle. As it turns out, there was someone rather significant who had never heard the jingle. On the first day of trial, I played the ad for the judge, who then said she had never heard of the company, never heard the jingle, didn't own a television, didn't listen to radio. She may have been the only person in the courthouse who hadn't heard the jingle. But it was effective, because what I told her to do, and what she obviously did, is remember what you thought when you heard that jingle, what they're actually doing. And then I told her, and now I'm going to tell you what they really do with the money. And there wasn't really a defense. Even though this case went on for 5 years, Cars for Kids' defense was the First Amendment. They argued they had the right to mislead the public. And the judge dealt with that halfway through the trial. They came up with 12 cases, and she sent us away for 4 hours, went and read them. We came back after lunch, and she said not one single case supports that idea. But I don't want to get into a deep dive about the law. The reality is this is a long-running, very impactful ad which has raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in California over the years on a lie. It's a clever lie. It's a sophisticated, I don't want to say scam, but they're not using the money for what anyone looking at that ad would imagine that they were.
Well, let me get into a couple of things here, and we can get your response on the other side of it. First and foremost, I'm seeing that URA, and I think people should know that URA, the organization that you mentioned, provides programs including an adult matchmaking service, trips to Israel for teens, and summer camps in New York. The only program in California that Cars for Kids sponsored was a promotional giveaway of Cars for Kids branded backpacks, according to this judge here. Now, I want to address the First Amendment aspect of your comments there, because Cars for Kids says that it plans to seek a stay of the ruling and that they are going to seek to have this reversed on appeal. And I want to read their specific statement. It says, "We believe this decision is deeply flawed, ignores the facts, and misapplies the law. It's well known that we are a Jewish organization, and our website makes it abundantly clear." They add that they have helped thousands of kids with youth development, mentoring, and educational programs, including hundreds in the state of California, contrary to the judge's complete mischaracterization of our work and of the testimony at trial. Like many youth-serving organizations, helping children often means engaging parents and families as well, and continuing support through young adulthood. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to be diplomatic, Cars for Kids' statements there, other than that they're going to move for a stay, because undoubtedly they will, everything else they said was false. If you look at the judgment and the statement of decision, Judge Akperian was very careful. She quotes Cars for Kids themselves. She quotes from, in fact, tax returns and what are called 990s. Literally none of the facts stated in that judgment are disputed. They didn't come from me. They didn't come from Bruce. The killer facts all came from Cars for Kids themselves. You mentioned the matchmaking. Well, you didn't mention the matchmaking.
No, I mentioned the matchmaking service, yeah.
Okay. What's interesting is they pay for approximately 250 young males. They're about 18. They send them to Israel for a year. They bring them back, and then they matchmake them with girls who have gone to the summer camps they provide in upstate New York. While they're in Israel, one of the more amusing aspects of the trial was that I asked Ms. Landau, who's the COO, about a $16.5 million transfer to the Middle East, which was in 2022. She didn't know what that was. I told her what it was, which is they purchased a building near the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. And the young men who go and live in Israel for a year, and she didn't know this until after lunch, they go to the building at the weekends to enjoy themselves together. I was not the only one who was surprised by that. It was the moment when the judge actually turned to Ms. Landau and asked her, how can you possibly not know that you transferred $16.5 million to Israel? It got worse because then we went through each of the tax returns, and they spent or sent millions of dollars to Israel, which she said is just part of their Israeli, I think she called it an outreach program. Again, though, I think it's very important. This is not about them being a Jewish organization or investing monies in Jewish issues. It's purely and simply about the ad itself misleading people about what they're investing in. If they had said, as the judge tells them they can alter the ad to say what they are and what they're doing with the money and use age-appropriate children, and then they can continue on. And when I say age-appropriate, the kids, this did come out in trial, this was not known beforehand, the kids in the ad are aged about 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't the ages of the kids who go to the summer camps. They're 13 to 18.
Okay.
Judge didn't want that to continue, so that was very specific on her part.
And so this was for California. I do want to ask you, in the time that we have here, do you think, I mean, it's not just Californians who have heard that ad. So do you think we're going to see other suits that pop up in other states now that this ruling has been made, and or some type of like class action status or something like that?
There already is a class action. That's in San Francisco. My associate Neil Roberts of Protectus Law and Eric Grover of the Grover Law Firm have brought a class action that started in 2025 after we had been successfully beaten all the motions filed in our case. Our case is about an individual, and the purpose of the case was to get the permanent injunction, which is what we've done. The class action is designed to get what's called restitution. That is to give back to the, what I think is going to be hundreds of thousands of people, not just in California, but nationwide, who gave cars for kids with the false understanding about what was going to happen.
Wow.
That case is I think it's about a year old right now, but undoubtedly there will be individual cases all over the country now. The surprise being we're the first. This is one of those cases that come to you. I think I said this at the beginning, that you think, well, someone must have done something about this, an attorney general perhaps, or an individual lawyer. There were a couple of actions in, I think, Minnesota and one other state, but that led to essentially nothing. I think they were fined about $60,000. And when you're making $150 million a year, that kind of fine has no impact at all. The injunction will have an impact. We will oppose any stay, and given what the court has said already, it's very unlikely, we believe, that a stay would be granted. The court said they had weighed the harm to the plaintiff and the California public against the burden on Cars for Kids. And the only burden on Cars for Kids is to change their ads. They make the ads in-house. They've only changed it apparently once or twice over the last quarter century because it works so well. Even though a lot of people hate the sound,
But they
you
remember
can't
it.
get the song out of your head.
Correct.
So she said that if they want to continue ads, they can do that, but they have to alter them. They have to, in some way, tell people what, in fact, the ads are for, which is what the law says they should do.
I want to ask you before I
go
let
ahead.
you go here, and it's kind of a two-parter, but how pervasive you think tactics like this are in the nonprofit world, and what everyday citizens who do have good hearts and actually want to help should be doing to ensure that your money is going to what you intended to go to.
Well, unfortunately, we believe it is quite pervasive. There are a lot of good charities out there, a lot of great charities, St. Jude's, the Red Cross. I'm not leaving anyone out. It's just I can't think of anyone else at the moment. But if you want to donate something or give money to a charity, then almost every charity will have a website. Go look. You don't have to. By the way, that's important. The court made that clear. You don't have to investigate. That's sort of the point. You should be able to rely on what they've told you in the ad. But if you want to protect yourself, if you don't want to sue and have to go through 5 years of litigation and a 2-week trial, have a look. And then just do a simple Google search. You'll often see, and I did when I looked at Cars for Kids, there's a bunch of this evidence was already out there. I don't want to mention, like, there are people who have had things said against them over the years and then nothing happened. And then suddenly something did. There are a lot of people and businesses that have presented a certain front to the world, and then the facts eventually come out. What's surprising is that it doesn't come out earlier, but it has now come out, and we think we have put an end to this pervasive and extraordinarily impactful ad, certainly in California, and we hope shortly in the rest of the country.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today to let us all know about what's going on and where this case in particular has led to today. Thank you so much for your time, Attorney Graham.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it. 2:20 right now. Give us 2 minutes, everyone, and we'll be back with our next conversation about Schlitz Spear. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:22 right now. Before we get into our next conversation, I want to let you know we're not going to go to this video unless it's clear, this live image unless it's cleared. But I want to let you know that there is an active situation that's happening in San Diego right now, where the police are responding to reports of an active shooter at a mosque there. It is a very active scene right now, and some of the images that we've seen have been a bit graphic, so we don't want to go to that just yet, but as soon as we have a clear picture where we can show you what's going on there, they are asking everyone to stay indoors because you're seeing a lot of agencies, a lot of officers that are running throughout the area, maybe on the opposite side where we saw before. So again, they've changed their view of the mosque where all of this activity is happening to avoid some of the graphic things that you're seeing on in other parts of the view there, but you can even see from the street that there are, I mean, it's lined with police vehicles there, and you can see people running across the street. Not sure if these people were in the mosque, and these are people, and typically, you know, when you have an active situation, you have people coming out, hands up. It looks like these are children, everybody. My goodness, these are children. Okay, these are children that they are getting out of this mosque right now. We don't have any details as to the extent of what is going on. You can still see some of the officers running, but it does look like they're at the very least getting these children out of harm's way as whatever is taking place is going on in this area. Again, this active shooter at an Islamic center in San Diego. I want to make that very clear that we're looking at something in San Diego. This is not here in the Chicagoland area, but a very heavy police presence outside of this Islamic center. They are issuing or they are rescuing children out of this mosque. I can tell you, you just saw one officer running by with a blanket. It is a part of the graphic nature of what we saw moments ago that we're trying to avoid showing you here. So it is a breaking news story. As we get into new information on this, you can see others running on the opposite side there of the mosque. Again, we don't have any details about the extent, and there's just so much activity on each side, so much law enforcement and those children that they are trying to get out of harm's way right now. As we get some new information about this, I'm going to come back around to it and let you know what new information we get in, but just very limited information and some graphic images that we're trying to avoid showing you at this moment there again in San Diego at a mosque where we do have an active shooter situation that is taking place. I'm going to go on to our planned conversations. As soon as we have more information, we'll circle back on that very important topic there, that breaking news in San Diego. Here, back closer to home, there is a treasured and beloved beer called Schlitz that many people know of. Some people say it made Milwaukee famous, and apparently it is no more. I want to get more information about this from Dr. Brian Alberts. He is a historian and a writer and a consultant with broodculture.org. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for having me. And of course, I'm deeply saddened to hear about the news in San Diego.
Yes, absolutely. Very troubled by what's going on there in San Diego. As I'm reading, just kind of trying to get up to date on Schlitz, I see it was founded in 1849. Tell us what you know of this institution, essentially.
Absolutely. So it was founded in 1849, but not by Joseph Schlitz. It was actually founded by a gentleman named August Krug that Schlitz worked for. And Krug unfortunately passed away a few years later, and Schlitz ended up taking the helm of the company by marrying the widow of August Krug. It was a very kind of strategic, business-minded marriage that put him in charge of the company. And from there, Schlitz just went on a tear. The late 19th century is defined by a really aggressive expansion of beer as a popular beverage in the United States. And even, given that baseline level of expansion, Schlitz just kind of blew all expectations away. When, August Krug is brewing like we're talking about, the brewery is making maybe 250 barrels of beer a year at that time. By 1870, they're making almost 9,000 barrels of beer, which sounds like a lot. But by 1875, Schlitz is making 70,000 barrels of beer. It's just an absolutely massive expansion. Unfortunately, though, 1875 is also the year that Schlitz passes away. He was lost at sea when a ship he was traveling to Europe on sank, very tragically. And the company then was, it kept the same name, but it was taken over by a family that was kind of related to the original owners, named the Uihleins, who are still very active today in Wisconsin politics, and they own kind of the Uihlein shipping and logistics business. And from under their stewardship, the company just expanded drastically. Even from there, we're talking 1 million barrels. By 1900, we're talking 6 million barrels by the 1950s and 16 million barrels by 1968. And Chicago actually plays a pretty integral part in a lot of that early growth, especially in the 19th century. It was a very symbiotic kind of relationship between Schlitz and the city of Chicago that you can literally see the evidence of still on the city's landscape today.
Talk a little bit more about that connection there, and how we can still see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Schlitz started shipping beer down to the city in the 1850s, along with a few other Milwaukee brewers. The story goes that the summers were just really hot and Chicago was drinking up all its beer, trying to stay cool, and Milwaukee was kind of filling the gap left over. On the more tragic side, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 is a huge part of that. 19 breweries in the city are destroyed in that fire, which takes a lot of competition out of the equation and allows some other breweries, both Conrad Sipe Brewing in the city and also Schlitz Brewing and other Milwaukee brewers, to kind of find new chances for new opportunities for growth and really take advantage of that. In fact, the Uihleins, before they take over the company in 75, they're the Chicago sales managers that are working overtime in the city constantly to try and keep the beer flowing and allowing Schlitz to finance its aggressive expansions. And fast forward a little bit to the 1890s and the very early 1900s, and Schlitz is engaging in what's called the Tide House system, which is kind of a system where a brewery kind of buys saloons and has control over the proprietors and over the supply of beer and uses that to grow their business. It's kind of a monopolization tactic that's actually illegal today. But in this earlier period, Schlitz actually buys and helps builds over 50-some Tide Houses in the city of Chicago alone. At least several of which, maybe a dozen or so, are still, up and in the city today. Some of them have been, declared either city landmarks or added to the National Register of Historic Places, or both. And they're all over. They're on the south side, they're on the west side, they're on the north side. It was a very iconic mark on the city. They also have very iconic architecture, being kind of that corner saloon look. Some of them had, Schlitz logos on the side, literally cut into the stone, that kind of have a globe, very iconic globe logo kind of look to them. And some of those are still visible today. And it's just kind of an incredible amount of symbiosis between a city that really needed additional beer to drink, because even local breweries in the 1800s and early 1900s weren't fully supplying the city's demand, but also Schlitz needing Chicago for its rail connections, for not just for its share of throat, but the business and rail connections that allowed it to reach markets well beyond the city, around the Midwest, into the West, all the way coast to coast eventually.
I mean, that's such a cool story, honestly, from start to finish. It is such a cool story, a beautiful one, quite honestly, in the country, and specifically for our area, and that connection, as you said there, to Milwaukee. And so what happens now?
Well, Schlitz grows very aggressively, like I said. Again, 1968, they're one of the leading breweries in the country. I think they're number 2 behind Anheuser-Busch at that point. But making just gargantuan amounts of beer. But then things start going downhill. Through the 1970s, Schlitz has a number of failed investments. that Eline family that has majority control of the company, they are really enjoying the dividends paid out from Schlitz stock that they own, and they don't really want to give those up, which leads the company to not reinvest its profits into expansion or advertising or things like that nearly as much. And then Schlitz has some quality control problems in the late 1970s where they're constantly trying to cut costs, and that leads to them putting like clearing agents in the beer that kind of backfire. They reduce the amount of barley in the beer. They basically do a lot of these kind of cost-saving measures that make the beer a little more likely to be flat, a little thinner, less flavorful, and because of some of their quality control issues, there's a time in the late 1970s where Schlitz beer has like kind of flakes in it. It's like cloudy and it kind of looks, some people describe it as like a snow globe. And it was not appetizing. And as Schlitz started just kind of hemorrhaging customers, they didn't really come back. And so from being, the number 2 brewery in the late 60s, just on this expansionist tear, in 1982, the company is flailing, and it's actually sold to Stroh's, a brewery out of Detroit. And Stroh's eventually is itself sold to Pabst, and Pabst acquires the brand in like 1999. And at that point, Schlitz actually isn't being made anymore, but Pabst revives it in 2008, and that's kind of what you see on the shelves today. It's supposed to be a reformulated recipe that, that goes back before the quality control issues, we'll say. And it's kind of marketed as a nostalgia brand, one of several that Pabst owns. And basically, the announcement to discontinue the beer today that we just came out in the last few days is basically Pabst saying that the costs are not being made up by the revenue, and they're just going to shelve it for a while. And they're saying that there's a possibility it'll come back.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay. I mean, none of us can predict the future, but at least there's a possibility. At least there's a chance. Yeah. But sad to see it, at least the production coming to an end right now with such a beautiful story to the issues that they experienced. So thank you so much for being our historian for the day, giving us the background on something we might see or we might drink, but knowing more about its full story, its fullness, I think is important. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good rest of your day. It's 2:35, everyone. I have been trying to monitor the situation again there in San Diego, there at this Islamic mosque. I did see that this is reportedly the largest mosque in the San Diego County area. We do know that there were calls out for an active shooter there. There is a ton of law enforcement activity there. We could see from our cameras moments ago, before we started our conversation, that they were ushering children out of the area. There have been some very graphic images there, so hopefully they got the children away from all of those things and to safety. We'll continue to monitor this. I'm still not seeing, there's no word on the extent of injuries or exactly what has taken place here. But again, a report of an active shooter. We do know, we've been able to see from our eyes at least one person who was down, but we don't know if that was the shooter or if that was someone else. We also know that they have ushered, again, children out of that mosque, out of the area. You can see here the traffic that's just sitting on the highway. As I'm seeing, they have closed traffic in 2 different directions as they try to get the situation under control there again in San Diego, outside of the Islamic Center of San Diego, the largest mosque in San Diego County, where they have had an active shooter call today. It's 2:36. Again, we'll continue to monitor for any new developments here, but give us 2 minutes. We're going to go to a break before we get to our next conversation. Welcome back, everyone. 2:39 right now as we continue on with our conversation, still monitoring that breaking news out in San Diego. But we have a well-known professor who is going to educate us on the topic of dark matter. Professor Michio Kaku is here with us today, and we so appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here on Chicago Live. Okay, I cannot hear him. I believe you might be muted.
Okay, hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, well, I'm going to present to you a mystery that's so profound that if you figure it out, you could win the next Nobel Prize in Physics and be declared the next Einstein.
Oh boy.
Here's the problem. It's a very simple problem. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, and the Milky Way galaxy looks like a pinwheel. It spins like a pinwheel. But when you calculate the rate of rotation of the Milky Way galaxy, it turns out that it spins too fast. It doesn't spin like it's supposed to spin. Therefore, astronomers threw their hands up and said, maybe there's a halo that surrounds the Milky Way galaxy that explains why it doesn't rotate like it should. But photographs of the Milky Way galaxy, you've seen it, looks like a pancake. Looks like a flying saucer. Where is this mysterious dark matter that holds it together? It's invisible. In other words, we are now postulating a new form of matter. Matter that's invisible. Matter that weighs 10 times the weight of ordinary matter. And if you could figure out what this invisible matter is that holds the Milky Way galaxy together, you could win the next Nobel Prize. And you can imagine a lot of scientists are jumping in on the bandwagon, making all sorts of crazy proposals as to what is holding the Milky Way galaxy together, when by rights, it should fly apart like a pinwheel. At 4th of July, you see these pinwheels spiral out of control. That should be the way the Milky Way galaxy is, but the galaxy is stable. And it's been stable for billions and billions of years, and we're clueless as to why. Now, one candidate is called string theory, which is what I do for a living. And string theory says that the neutron, the proton, the electron, they're nothing but musical notes on a rubber band. So this is the electron, if you could magnify it somehow. This is the proton. This is a pi meson. They're nothing but musical notes on a string. And so how come we have hundreds of subatomic particles? It's music. Music that vibrates, that creates the subatomic particles that make up chemistry. So when you think of all the elements that make up atoms, you realize you're just talking about vibrations of a string. But, and here's the catch, string theory also predicts that there are higher vibrations. The vibrations of the next octave. If you're a musician, you know that there's another octave beyond the lowest octave. That's dark matter. So we think that dark matter is a higher musical note, higher music that surrounds the Milky Way galaxy. And if you could ever figure out what dark matter is, tell me first, and we'll win the Nobel Prize together.
Okay, we'll do it together. Oh my goodness! I mean, it makes your head spin as you're kind of trying to conceptualize all of these things. What are some of the other theories out there?
Well, like I said, most people think that the world is made out of atoms, and there are 100 or so kinds of atoms, and that's it. But now we have atom smashers that tell us that there are thousands of different kinds of subatomic particles. Why should nature be so malicious to create thousands of subatomic particles? The leading theory is that they're nothing but higher musical notes. That the lowest vibration is the electron, the neutron, the proton. Mm-hmm. That's the lowest vibration. But there are higher vibrations, higher harmonics. So think of a piano. What you see around you is just the lowest notes on a piano. The higher notes make up the rest of the galaxy. And if you could figure that out, what are these higher notes which are invisible? There's a Nobel Prize waiting for you, and you'll be declared the next Einstein.
So let's say whoever figures it out, What does that open up? What possibilities does that open up to us?
Well, it explains where we came from. It explains the Big Bang. It explains the origin of the universe itself. You see, we have a theory which is called string theory, and it works pretty well all the way down to the instant of the Big Bang. But at the Big Bang, all hell breaks loose. Nobody but nobody has a complete theory of creation itself. And that's where this new dark matter could come into play. And also realize that it's not just dark matter, there's also something called dark energy, which is even more prevalent. Dark energy is the energy of nothing. It's the reason why the universe expands. Why does the universe expand? Because there's something called dark energy, which is even more powerful than dark matter, which is responsible for the spin of the Milky Way galaxy. So in other words, we physicists are realizing that we are children. We are children trying to understand the basic nature of the Big Bang and reality itself.
And why do you think it still hasn't been named a thing? Why do you think this is a theory that, why do you think it's still a theory and not something that's been proven yet? That the information is not readily available to us yet in society?
Well, the bottom line is, I hate to be a party pooper. People can spin off theories all the time. I get a lot of theories in the mail every day. But the bottom line is you got to test it. And that's where satellites come in. One day we hope to send satellites out there or create detectors called spark chambers on the planet Earth that'll detect the presence of this invisible matter. Think about it. It's a new form of matter. It's invisible. It has weight. And it holds the galaxy together. If it wasn't for dark matter, the galaxy would have spun out of control billions of years ago, and we would be floating lifeless in outer space. So thank goodness for dark matter. It holds the galaxy together. But what is it? We're clueless. We simply don't know. Sorry about that.
Oh, what is it? The more we know, the more you know, more things change, the more things stay the same. When we find out, like, okay, we learn new things, but at the same time, we still don't know so much.
That's right. People think of knowledge like a pancake. The larger the pancake, the more unknown there is of the pancake that you don't understand. So the bigger the universe is, the more unknowns we find. And the biggest unknown right now is where the Big Bang came from. The secret lies in dark energy and dark matter. That explains the Big Bang. But where do they come from? What is it made of? Sorry about that. We're clueless. And like I said, if you ever figured it out, tell me first.
How close do you think we are to an answer?
Well, we do have a proposal. It's called string theory. String theory says all the vibrations are like musical notes on a violin string. How many notes can you make on a violin string? Hundreds, thousands of notes you can make on a violin string, but it's only one string. So we think that all of matter is nothing but vibrations of one string. It has many forms, it has many frequencies, but all of it boils down to what is called string theory. Now, what's the problem with string theory? String theory predicts that there are, get this, 11 dimensions in hyperspace. This is something out of science fiction. In science fiction, we don't talk about hyperspace except in the movies, but that's where string theory lives. String theory lives in 11-dimensional hyperspace. It blows people's minds away.
Well, it feels like my mind is blown today. Tell us, when you are a theoretical physicist, so
That's right.
in the range of things that you have tried to answer in the span of your career, where does this rank?
Well, it really ranks way up there because we're beginning to understand the nature of reality itself. We can now explain, believe it or not, everything down from the instant of the Big Bang all the way out to perhaps the end of the universe itself. Everything in between the Big Bang to the Big Crunch and the Big Freeze, everything in between we can understand using the atomic theory. But then it breaks down. all hell breaks down. Because once you get to the Big Bang itself, then you begin to realize that maybe atoms are not stable at that point. We have not just one particle, but a whole zoo of subatomic particles. And all of a sudden we realize Mother Nature is more crafty than we originally thought. We thought we had a handle. We thought we knew everything from the Big Bang to the Big Freeze. Everything in between we thought we knew. Now we begin to realize that we don't understand the Big Bang, and we don't understand the end of the universe either. And like I said, if you ever figured it out, tell me.
What are some of the other big questions you're working to answer right now?
Well, we're building huge atom smashers that cost billions and billions of dollars to catalog and give names to these things. It used to be so simple. In the 1930s, there was the neutron, the proton, and the electron. And that's it, folks. It seems so simple. Then we discovered the mesons, and we discovered the hadrons and the leptons. Now we are drowning in subatomic particles. And so what are they? The leading theory is, get this, that all these subatomic particles are nothing but music of vibrating strings. Because if I take a string and I vibrate it, how many different kinds of vibrations can you make on a string? An infinite number. You can bend it any which way and it never breaks. And so we think that ultimately the nature of reality itself is based on vibrating strings that vibrate in 11-dimensional hyperspace.
How does it help us to better understand things on Earth, though?
Well, this theory not only explains the universe of the Big Bang that happened roughly 12, 13 billion years ago, it also explains perhaps where the universe is going, how the universe will eventually die, or will it die? There's a debate among scientists right now. Some say the universe will expand and then stop, and then recontract, and then begin to create a second Big Bang. And these Big Bangs go on forever. Another theory says, no. There's a multiverse of parallel universes. What we have is a bubble bath. Our universe is a bubble, but it coexists with other bubbles out there in a bubble bath of universes. This is called the multiverse theory. And believe it or not, even Marvel Comics got wind of it. And all the superheroes of Marvel Comics live in the multiverse. And that's why you have not just Spider-Man, but you have counter Spider-Man and different parallel Spider-Man. So we physicists, some of us do believe in a multiverse of universes, that our universe is not alone, that our universe does not necessarily have to die in a Big Bang.
Mm-hmm. And how would the in more practical theory than what we've seen with Superman, what would the multiverse, like, what would be the effects from what we know versus what's happening out there in a multiverse?
Well, think of a bubble bath of balloons that you make with a bubble bath. However, we think that these bubbles can sometimes touch each other. They can then merge to create a bigger bubble. And the connection between them is called a wormhole. A wormhole is a gateway through space and time. Now, the first mention of a wormhole in the literature was done by Lewis Carroll, otherwise known as the mathematician Charles Dodgson, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. The looking glass is a gateway between Oxford and Wonderland. Today, we physicists create wormholes. We think that wormholes we can create them in our mathematics. Wormholes are gateways between universes. And maybe, just maybe, one day we may be able to use a wormhole to break the light barrier. This, of course, is still science fiction, but there are some physicists who think that perhaps we can go faster than the speed of light, reach the stars using a wormhole, which is a gateway. In the same way that Alice went to Wonderland, perhaps one day we will be able to go faster than the speed of light and enter a parallel universe. This means that perhaps one day we'll be able to reach the stars. And believe it or not, there are some scientists who think that maybe the aliens have already done this. Why is it that aliens can reach the Earth when we're so far away from these aliens? It would take thousands and thousands of years for an alien species to reach the Earth, but not if they can create a hole in space and time. And believe it or not, string theory does have solutions which allow for gateways between universes. And again, this is still conjectural, no proof, I repeat, no proof, but there are scientists who think that, yeah, maybe there's a multiverse of universes and we can travel between them interdimensionally.
Okay, so do you think that like the Marvel movies get it right?
Well, I think that's where the inspiration came from. If you take a look at the old Star Treks, right? Where did they get all those special effects and those ideas come from? They came from Einstein. In 1935, for the first time in history, Albert Einstein talked about the possibility of a gateway to a parallel universe. And of course, he didn't think we'd be able to build a machine that could do that. But now we're actually thinking about our future. Maybe one day we'll be able to punch a hole through space and time the way they do it on Star Trek. So again, the inspiration for Star Trek comes from Albert Einstein.
Okay, and you mentioned aliens. So before I let you go, I have to ask you your thoughts on the UFO files that are being released.
Well, I think it's long overdue. Before, it was just basically citizens saying, look, Ma, Pa, I see something in the sky. That's called close encounters of the first kind, when you see flashes of light in the sky. Hopefully, in the wealth of documents being declassified, we'll get into close encounters of the second kind. That is, actually making contact with a crashed UFO or the carcass of a dead body of an alien. Who knows? That's close encounters of the second kind, when you get tangible evidence of an extraterrestrial civilization. And then there's close encounters of the third kind, which of course became a movie. And so right now we're still at close encounters of the first kind. Eyewitness accounts, jet pilots, people said, I saw something fly right next to my jet airplane, but that's a close encounter of the first kind. Close encounters of the second kind means you can touch the wreckage, you can touch the bodies. We're not there yet. But hopefully in the mountain of documents that the president is declassifying, hopefully we'll find some evidence of close encounters of the second kind.
Oh boy. Professor Michio, thank you so much for being here and enlightening all of us. We so appreciate you coming on the show today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take
My
care.
pleasure.
It is 2:57, everyone. And before we get you to the next break, I do want to just circle back with the breaking news that we've been following throughout this hour. I've been trying to research more information, seeing if new information is coming out. This is out of San Diego, where they have been responding, law enforcement in the area have been responding to an active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego. This is the largest mosque in San Diego County here. So Officer Anthony Carrasco says they do believe people have been shot. I repeat, they do believe people have been shot. And I can tell you from our own eyes, our own vantage point, at one point, we did see someone on the ground. Thankfully, we also saw children being ushered out of this area. The Islamic Center is in a residential area, as you're seeing there. It's about 9 miles north of downtown San Diego. Heavy police presence in this area. We're starting to get some officials who are responding on social media. This officer says, we are grateful to all of our first responder agencies on the scene working to protect the community, urging everyone to follow guidance from local authorities. This campus in connection to us seeing children who are being ushered from the area. The campus includes Al Rashid School that offers courses in Arabic language, Islamic studies, and the Quran. The website says that its mission is not only to serve the Muslim population, but also work with the larger community to serve the less fortunate, to educate, and to better our nation. That's from their website. So again, starting to get some information, some statements, I should say, from some of the officials. The San Diego Mayor, Todd Gloria, said, "I am aware of the active shooter situation at the Islamic Center of San Diego and Claremont, and I'm continuing to receive updates from law enforcement. Emergency personnel are on scene and actively working to protect the community and secure the area." Again, we don't have numbers right now. We have one officer who has said they do believe people have been shot. And we can tell you from our own vantage point, we could see someone on the ground. We did not want to show you that. Which is also part of why the helicopter is so far back, because some of the images on the ground are very graphic. They are urging people in this area to stay away, to shelter in place right now. And as we get more information, we'll pass that along to you in the 3 o'clock hour right now. But again, this is at the Islamic Center of San Diego, the largest mosque in San Diego County, where they have had calls for an active shooter today and reports that there are people who have been shot, although we don't have firm numbers just yet. Let's take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for all of you who have stayed with us. Now we're in our third hour here of Chicago Live for the day, our final hour for the day, and we still have plenty of things to get to in this hour. We're going to be speaking with Leon Rogers from WGCI about a big weekend for the rapper Drake. You know, we haven't heard much from him in a while, you know, after the whole big They Not Like Us, all that. Well, 3 albums dropped in the night hours going into the weekend. And so now that people have had some time to listen, to absorb, to critique, all of those things, maybe to praise, we'll get some, you know, some music knowledge from the one and only Leon Rogers and see how he's feeling about the EPs. Also, we'll have JD Rudd, who's going to come up here and update us on the weather. Crazy enough, I mean, it's like, at least from my vantage point, pretty nice outside right now. It did not start off this way today. I mean, things got ugly for a while. We had watches and warnings popping up and, you know, popping up and going away, and storms, super heavy rain for a while. Sun is shining right now. We hope We wish that we could keep it this way, but I have a funny feeling there's probably another round of storms. We'll talk to JD about that coming up soon. I always get really antsy on days where we're expecting the possibility of severe weather, and you see the sun, pop up, and you're wondering, is this like ripening the atmosphere for stronger storms to come? We'll talk to him about that coming up around 3:30. We'll also have our 5 p.m. producer, Sloan Salerno, who's going to get us up to date on what they're working on downstairs for our later shows. But here's where we're starting for this hour. We're talking about the Smithsonian 250. America's 250 from the lens of the Smithsonian, that always gives us more perspective, more context, more history. And we're so pleased to have the project director and lead curator for the In Pursuit exhibit, Theo Gonzalez, who is joining us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what you all have curated, the experience you all have put together.
Well, the title of the exhibition is called In Pursuit of Life, Liberty, and Happiness, and we decided to move the word pursuit up to the front to emphasize action, agency, movement. And so that's what we've tried to do, is to highlight 250 objects from the museum's collection. In all, there's about 1.7 million objects in the museum. So we narrowed all of that down to 250 stories, 250 objects for the public to enjoy. And it tells the history of the United States from 1776 right up to the present.
How difficult was it trying to sift through and present this?
Well, it's a good thing I didn't do it all by myself. We have a big team, about 250 folks here at the museum that we solicited suggestions from, and then we worked with our curators as well as our collections managers and education specialists. So we were able to narrow all of that down with a lot of really talented people who know this collection really well. So it took some time, and it took us really a few years to do it, but the exhibition has debuted.
Tell me about some of your favorites, or some of the things that you think people will spend the most time on.
Well, that's so hard to say. I mean, 250 objects, it really spans so many different time periods and geographic locales. I know folks are going to be looking for Thomas Jefferson's desk, the desk that he used to draft the Declaration of Independence on, and we have that. It's a national treasure. We also have the Star-Spangled Banner, and we have the gunboat Philadelphia, goes all the way back to 1776. But then we also have some objects that pertain to scientific discoveries and culinary history as well, even sporting and pop culture events. A surfboard that was used by Duke Kahanamoku in 1928 in Southern California. So it's really a wide variety of objects that help to tell the nation's story.
How much time do you think, if somebody's putting together a trip, or they're, they want to make sure that they take this in, how much time do you think they need to set aside for this to really get the most out of it?
Right. Well, we have 3 public floors at the National Museum of American History, so folks should really try to take their time, and if all they can settle into is just a handful of objects, that's really great. Maybe they could think about the stories. Maybe they could split up the museum so that way a different family member gets to take a different floor. It could take hours. It could take maybe 20 minutes. It really depends. I think the thing that will be helpful is that everyone who comes to the museum should pick up a commemorative guidebook. We have that available at the museum, and they have all 250 of the objects listed. You could find that also on our website as well, all 250 objects and stories that are part of this. So even if they don't get a chance to see it at first pass, maybe they can go to the guidebook or even online and compare notes later.
How long will this exhibit be available?
It's going to be up through the end of calendar 2026. So it's really meant to commemorate the semi-quincentennial, the 250th. So right up into the very end of 2026 in December.
Mm-hmm. And how does it feel to you to be a part of this moment in the nation's history, doing what you're doing?
It feels great. I mean, I'm part of a big team, and it's really great to be part of a big effort here in the museum. So I think a lot of folks are relieved that it's finally out into the public. May 14th was the big launch, but we're really ready for those crowds to come by especially around July 4th.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you all will be packed. What are some other things that you all are planning in such a special year?
Oh my gosh, we have public activities, film screenings, as well as in-person activities for kids. There are concerts, as well as daily activities that will be featured. We have these activities that are part of what's called Unity Square, where folks can relax a bit. There's some seating in there, but they can play some fun interactive games where they can ask each other some questions and take a little bit of a break, but also it'll be part of the same experience for In Pursuit.
What do you think people will get from that interactive experience? I mean, it kind of like hit me in a different way.
Yeah, well, we worked with the Exploratorium in San Francisco to really make use of these activities, and it's meant again to kind of give people a little bit of a break, but then also to interact with other people. Sometimes people are interacting with strangers as well, but they're fun ways to think about problem solving, to ask some questions, and maybe even reflect a bit. And we all realize that we don't have all of the answers, but sometimes when you're in a space where you can enjoy the setting, even with strangers, you can find some interesting things that you didn't know about yourself, and maybe even that'll spark some conversation on the way back home.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful thing, that you would get in a space where strangers are exchanging ideas and thoughts on things in a civil way.
That's right. A stranger could be a really great next dance partner too.
That is true as well. And I'm seeing that you all have these virtual field trips that are available. Tell me more about that.
Well, if you get onto our website, americanhistory.si.edu, you could look at the exhibitions that are available online. You could have the object records for all 250 of the artifacts that are listed. So it gives you a little bit of a taste to kind of think about, even if you don't get a chance to come to the Smithsonian in DC, you get a chance to actually look at it online. And this really helps, I think, for learners of all ages to do their own digital scavenger hunts if they want. But it's a great way to think about U.S. history.
Mm-hmm. So you and your team, these 250 people, you work for years to put it together. I'm sure, I would assume, I hate to assume things, but I would assume that you all then take a moment to like walk through it yourselves and see your hard work on display. What was going through your mind?
Right. Well, we had a kind of a staff preview the Monday before the big day on Thursday, and so when we finally got a chance to share it with everyone, it was really great to be able to see all that work. Some of the internal galleries had been covered up with drapes. It's called pipe and drape, and so it was really quite different to look at it once all the drapery came down, and really see some really brilliant design work by our design team. And so we're really happy to be able to share this with the American public. Hopefully they'll be able to get a chance to see it in person and talk about it.
All right, what's the oldest item and what's the newest item?
Well, we do have things that go right to the very beginning of the American Republic, and so if folks want to check out the gunboat Philadelphia, it's a fantastic artifact. It goes right to the Revolutionary War. It's an artifact that was at the bottom of Lake Champlain for many decades, and it's now under an active restoration project. So visitors will be able to see student workers and from Texas A&M who are helping with the restoration of that. So they'll see an active project, and it's great to see the inner workings of a museum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thus far, I mean, it's only been a couple of days, but what are some of the responses you're hearing?
Oh, well, it's been great. You know, we've had lots of student groups come, and ever since March is really the big opening month for student groups to come to the museum. They're coming by the busload, and so we have lots of students in the public floors. They're making use of the interesting seating areas that we have on the first and second floor. And when we get young folks activated in that space, it's really great because there's a lot of energy. It's kind of rambunctious, but it's really cool. It's really meant to be the People's Museum, and we love being able to have young folks really share and digest it.
The People's Museum. Thank you so much, Theo Gonzalez, for coming on the show and letting us know more about the wonderful work that you all have done to put something very special together for all of us to observe.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.
3:13, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll bring in our 5 p.m. producer so that we can find out a little bit more about what they're feverishly working on for the later shows. Welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:18. I want to take you back to San Diego, where we've been monitoring this breaking news over the last hour here. You can see a heavy police presence outside of the Islamic Mosque of San Diego, which is about 9 miles out of downtown San Diego, more specifically in an area called Claremont here. Just moments ago, the San Diego police put out a statement saying that the suspect, or the threat, excuse me, I want to be very specific with what they say. The San Diego police said the threat at the Islamic Center in Claremont has been neutralized. Okay? San Diego police saying that the threat has been neutralized. The department did not provide additional information as of yet about whether there's one or multiple people here, but they say the threat has been neutralized. They're also not saying how many other people may have been injured, or the extent of what we're dealing with here outside of just this one statement that the threat has been neutralized. This is the first statement coming from the agency in at least 30 to 45 minutes here since the active shooter situation was a much more active. I mean, we could see officers running up and down these streets, coming from all sides. I can tell you from our own vantage point, at one point we did see someone on the ground, so we knew there was at least one injury, likely extreme, but we did not have much more information. We also saw children being escorted out of the building, and I did some reading that this building also houses the El Rashid School, so it looks like they were able to get several children out to safety, but again, we don't know the extent of where things are in this investigation right now. I did see that they are setting up staging for a press conference. Not exactly sure what time that's expected to happen, but hopefully we get much more information on what's taken place there at the Islamic Center of San Diego, the largest mosque in San Diego County, coming up shortly. It's about 3:20 though, and we do have our 5 p.m. producer, Sloan Salerno, who's joining us now to give us a preview of what they're working on downstairs. Hey, Sloan.
Hello. Sorry if you can hear behind me. We have JD Rudd is recording a weather cut-in right now, so sorry about that. But we have a lot going on today. We have Leslie is in Melrose Park. She's at a restaurant called Arepa Express, and it's a Venezuelan restaurant. Employee says they were robbed at gunpoint, and surveillance cameras captured the whole thing.
Oh, my.
And so she's out there talking to them. You know, they say that the gunmen demanded their jewelry, all these things. And so we'll hear from her on that.
Super scary.
And then, yeah, awful. And then Casey is doing an exclusive story about 5 days before Christmas last year. A 22-year-old girl was on her way to work when someone pulled up, shot at the car, and then she died actually in the crash that followed afterward. And the mom is still, desperate for answers, trying to figure out, where the investigation stands right now. And so she's talking with the mom, and we're going to hear from her on that. And then Tia Ewing, we're also hearing from a mom of a CPS student who says her 12-year-old son was violently assaulted by his science teacher. She has, photos of the son with scratches on his face. And that teacher actually has been charged with felony aggravated battery charges. But the mom says even though this attack happened, she wasn't told for hours after it happened by her son's school. And so, yes, the teacher was charged, but she still has a lot of questions for CPS about how they handled the whole situation.
Yeah, and did she say how the altercation even came to be?
Didn't say that, but we just know that it happened, and so we're trying to figure out what led up to it and things like that. And so Tia will have all that on 4 and at 5 as well. And then Brett has all the Bears Stadium saga drama. So, all the drama. It's supposed to be on the agenda, the NFL owners meeting tomorrow, which I believe is in Orlando. And Arlington Heights and Hammond are the only 2 sites that the Bears are saying are under consideration. And so there's been a lot of back and forth between Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker today. I think it was last week that Johnson basically called out the mega projects bill and was saying how he's like, I wouldn't support that. I don't know why anyone who wants to keep jobs in Chicago would support the Bears moving. And then Pritzker kind of blasted him today and said, I'm not surprised this last minute, changing your tune, saying all this stuff. And so the 2 of them have been kind of going back and forth. So he'll break that down. He's in Arlington Heights. He's going to talk to people there.
Here's the thing. If it's your job to represent the city of Chicago, we get standing 10 toes down for the city of Chicago. But I think to the governor's point, it's like, okay, we're kind of in deadline mode right now. And so the time for these discussions we're
passed.
Yeah.
And at this point too, if it's not Arlington Heights and the Bears go to Indiana, So, the governor's kind of like, we want to just keep them in Illinois, period.
Yeah,
And
especially
so,
if the
sorry,
Bears are
Chicago.
saying they're only considering 2. Like then
Exactly. Like, you kind of got to put all your eggs in one basket
Yeah.
for this one. And so let's think that. And then we have Lauren, who is doing this. There are these apartments in Aurora who someone living there is saying that recent construction work disturbed asbestos.
Oh.
And so they're saying crews are doing nothing about it, or the management is doing nothing about it. And they have 60 people who are out of their homes while the repairs are happening. And so they want to get a third party in there and start testing. And so Lauren's going to have all that. And then some other stories that we're just following is, I think it was, I want to say, was it last week when they had the suspected Hantavirus case in Winnebago County? Well, it turns out that it's negative.
Oh,
it was
good.
never really a case. So that's good news. It was never
Wonderful.
connected to that cruise ship in the first
Right.
place. But still, obviously when there's an outbreak and then something happens here,
Yeah.
everyone gets a little scared.
I think they said it was like a person had possibly come in contact when they were cleaning a home or something like
It
that.
was the typical way you would get it is just through like the rat feces, not where the Andes strain, which was the
Yeah.
cruise ship one, where it's spreading from human to
Yeah.
human.
Well, good to
And
hear
then-
that update.
Yes. And then another good update is that the piping plovers, so Amani and Sea Rocket have welcomed their first egg of the season.
Oh.
Are expected. So there's love at Montrose Beach. And Pippin, who was he's been a bachelor, I think, the past year or 2 years. He found love up in Waukegan with the plover named Blaze, and they have an egg as well.
All right, Pippin, get in the
So
game.
that is the best story of the day.
Jordan's over there getting the game, Pippin.
Exactly.
Oh, love.
Yes.
It's so
We love
funny.
the plovers.
I feel like, following this story of the piping plovers turns us into children every year. Like literally
Yeah.
from us waiting to see if they're going to arrive to the exhilaration when they're finally there to naming and, hoping, praying that the babies make it and all of the
Yes.
things. We are so invested in this.
Yes, we love it. And Sea Rocket came like weeks after Amani did this year, and so
Because
it
it was
was
just
a
the
waiting game
guys
to see.
hanging for a while. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, the bachelors are here. What's
Yeah.
going on, ladies? Well, we love it. A great update there as well.
Yes, and so that's what we got coming up.
Looking forward to it, especially on the good stories there. But honestly, even the bad ones, we need to hear more information about what's going on out there. So thank you so much for letting us know what everybody's working on and what you're working on as we get ready for the evening shows. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that again is what our team is working on downstairs, and don't worry about the fact that you could barely hear JD Rudd in the background as Sloan was speaking. We're actually going to have him sitting right here, so you get the full forecast coming up in just a few moments here on Chicago Live. So I was trying to hear him too, but it's all right. It's all right. That message was not for us. We're going to get our own personal forecast coming up here soon. Again, so those are the things that we're working on for the 4 and the 5 p.m. shows. JD will be up here very soon as we have had alternating kind of conditions throughout the day. So quite honestly, in some areas have had severe weather in the last 24 hours, and it kind of tracks with what they told us going into the weekend when they said between Friday and Monday that several areas would have severe weather. So we'll get more information from him about what we can expect if we need to be prepared for any specific types of issues as we go into the evening hours. He actually just stepped in the room. So we're going to take a quick break. Give us 2 minutes. We'll bring him in, and we'll also, of course, continue to monitor the developing situation, that breaking news there in San Diego, the active shooter that happened. Again, the San Diego police now saying that the threat has been neutralized, but we're waiting on more information about the fullness of what took place there, and they are setting up a staging area for a press conference. I don't have the time yet for that press conference, but just as soon as we know more information, we'll let you know about that as well. It's 3:28, so give us 2 minutes and then we'll bring in JD. right, welcome back, everyone. JD Rudd is back from his road trip and it's graduation season. So, congratulations on your family's new accomplishment.
Thank you. Yes. My niece, my oldest niece, she graduated from high school. She's off to college to study, I think, radio imaging or something like that for
you didn't
nursing.
Get her to go to meteorology?
So, listen, I told her, don't do that. Do anything but weather, please. Do anything but try to figure out what the atmosphere is going to do. It's much easier.
Well, there's been a whole lot of activity in the atmosphere.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was wild and ruckus around here this morning. It's wild and ruckus right now across the Central Plains. Same area that had the nasty storms yesterday that came this way overnight into this morning, and it may be a repeat scenario for us. So it's the middle part of May. This is kind of what we should be used to almost.
And coming out this morning, it was just like, and I think you even said it was very likely to be that way, like a soupy feeling this time. I mean,
feel it.
Last week we had some storms that came through, but it
didn't have that.
It was soupy this morning.
Yeah, it was that thick. Like when you walk, you can kind of feel it resisting you a little bit, just sitting on top of you.
Wait, is my jacket sticking to my arm?
We sometimes will joke it's the air you can wear.
Yes,
almost.
exactly.
Dew points weren't that high. It's just the highest we've had in a while. Dew points right now, I think, are around 65 or 66. That's in that muggy category where you kind of notice that. If you've got breathing problems, you kind of you go, oh, it's a little bit harder to catch my breath today because that air is thicker. There's more moisture content in that air.
Yeah, and that was the trade-off of the higher temperatures that we've been lacking for a while.
We haven't seen this kind of warm air. We had back-to-back days in the 80s yesterday and Saturday. Haven't done that since October 5th and 6th of last year. Yesterday's 87. That's the hottest it's been all year long here in 2026, and Saturday was number 2.
Oh, wow.
So we've bam, just like that over the weekend.
Got out to the Lincoln Park Mayfest, and it was like, oh, we're back. We are back, Chicago.
Yeah, finally,
yeah. But then Sunday, it was like, wait, oh my gosh, it was so windy.
Yes, the wind was up there, and it kind of ushered in those storms as well, and now we have the storms this morning. It's still warm right now. We're back close to 80 in most cases currently. It's a little bit breezy, but we have no more rain, no more storms for today.
Okay.
We're done for today.
Oh, okay.
So if you're out and about today.
I got worried because it was so, like, again, this morning it was soupy. But we're kind of looking out like, oh, you got a little mist here or there. And I think, my producers and I were talking, and then I moved my head and I'm like,
well, wait a minute.
Oh my goodness.
What happened?
All of a sudden it was like just pouring rain outside. Then I saw the sun. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Today's one of those days where it's not necessarily a bad thing. We don't have a front coming through or anything else like that. There's no big lifting mechanism in the atmosphere. If we had that, then the sun would be a bad thing to see. All the lifting is back farther to our west across the Central Plains, and that's going to try to slide in here later on tonight and tomorrow.
So we're done with it.
We should be done. Unless something rogue decides to pop up this evening, which I don't think it will, we should be okay. The next best window is going to be around midnight to 2 a.m. For something to kind of fester and bubble around the area. That's very isolated. And then the next window is going to be about 4 a.m. to around 7, 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, similar to today where something comes through. It all depends upon those leftovers out in the Central Plains right now, which are actually causing some big-time disruptions in some areas.
Tell us more.
I think right now, last I saw in central Kansas, active warnings for tornadoes right now. Actually, the area that I just was over the weekend. I'm looking at the radar picture right now. Yeah, from Lincoln, Nebraska, down west of Topeka, Kansas, up through where I was in Salina, Kansas. They've got all kinds of active thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings as well. And that's the line of storms that's going to try to work its way our direction overnight and tomorrow. I don't think it'll be tornadic by then. It's going to lose some of its steam, but we have that chance of rain and thunder in there for tomorrow morning. And then I think by the mid to late morning, rest of the afternoon, it's dry tomorrow, just like today. Temperatures around 80, just like today. A little windy, just like today. But then, Anita,
the wind is blowing in a chill.
Yeah, the wind goes around to the northeast off the lake for Wednesday and Thursday. So temperatures either side of 60, give or take. Friday, yet another system tries to come in, could give us some showers. I don't think it's going to be thunderstorms. And then look at this, just in time for the weekend. It's back to the 70s.
Everybody's working for
That's right.
weekend.
We're just always eyeballing that weekend. And
I'm not mad at that weekend forecast.
Looks pretty good. Not too warm.
I just want you to keep the clouds that have rain coming down on either side.
And I'm doing my best. And right now that's how it shakes out, because by this time next week, just like today, warm with a chance of thunderstorms. We get more to the latter part of May.
It's how we feel on Monday anyway, so it's not helping us at
I
all
know,
today.
I know.
But yeah, you keep that weekend clear though.
If I can do that, if I can keep 2 out of the 7 days looking good, and they're the weekend days, I think I'm doing my job. And I'll take it.
Yeah. And when we have these days of storms or rain, are we anticipating anything like what you are seeing in some of those other areas?
No, we're not quite in that setup yet. So even tomorrow, we got that chance of storms in there. It's the morning. There could be some gusty wind, could be some small hail. It's not big time, nasty supercells dropping tornadoes, dropping tennis ball hail.
Good to hear.
Nothing like that. And it's a little too far to nail down the specifics for this time next week, but I'm not seeing those signals just yet. But a reminder, as we get more toward the end of May and certainly into June, that is prime season around here for things to get a bit on the ornery side.
And we've already seen
So,
some of it.
We've seen a little.
Which
We've had
is
a
why you're
taste.
kind of like,
I know.
Yeah.
But that's where you really got to be on guard around Memorial Day through at least the end of June. That's kind of our peak window around here for the really nasty stuff.
yeah. I remember the night of the Heart Ball in April, coming out to like torrential rain, and so everyone was kind of like waiting, like how long do we have to wait? How long can we wait this out? Like DJ, just keep playing, keep everything going because
Let's go.
nobody's actually really
No.
leaving because it was so bad,
Yes.
and several people had neighbors sending them pictures of like tornadoes in their area. And I remember this one couple specifically that was standing close to us. I don't know if they were from Rockford or Rockton.
Okay.
And I mean they had, somebody sent them an image like this is in our neighborhood, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. We got that little early scare, and we tend to get those almost every season where there's like 1 or 2 little clusters of storms early on that kind of grab your attention, and you think, oh gosh, we're right in the thick of severe season, and then we always back down. But it is a reminder that it's around the corner. So I know it's a little bit of a bumpy, scary little stretch there, and then we've had some time now where it's been okay, and we're going to keep
Time
that.
to prepare.
And that's exactly it. This is the time to start going, okay, it's getting warmer, it's getting more muggy, we have these storm chances. We will, that's not if, it's when, we will get back into more of those stronger storm patterns, so be prepared.
Yeah. I'm going to stay focused on that 70-degree weekend.
Yes, which looks pretty good right now. If I had to tweak anything, I might pull Saturday back a degree or 2.
Okay.
I'm leaving us
That's
at
not the
70 right
worst
now.
thing.
It's not at all, but just for optics, I think 70 sounds better than 68 degrees. But there's a possibility the wind still has more of a southeast component, which could keep those temperatures down. But I'm optimistic that Sunday, Monday, more of a south to southwest wind boost those temperatures right back up.
Okay. All right. We could work with that.
Doing my best.
All right.
Doing all I can, Ada.
Just give us our weekend. That's what we work for.
Yes, I hear you. I'm right there with you.
Thank you for coming up. We
you.
appreciate it, especially after your long weekend.
It's all good.
We appreciate it. Look at all those folks out there at the beach.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, especially now that the rain has
it's
gone
on.
by. Yeah. All right, give us 2 minutes, everyone. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's 3:42 right now. Before we get to our next guest, I do just want to briefly update you on that developing news out of San Diego. There you can see just how heavy of a police presence was there outside of the Islamic Mosque, Islamic Center of San Diego here, and agencies from near and far. The last information posted online from the San Diego police said that the threat had been neutralized there at this location. Still don't have any idea about a motive, but we do know that there are reports that a security guard was killed there at the mosque. So that may mean that there are 2 deaths. Again, we're still waiting on a press conference to take place any minute now. They are staging for that right now. So it doesn't appear, I mean, when we first started taking these images, you saw police officers running. Now you kind of see them, the units are still active, but you don't see the officers running. They're kind of standing there. So it does appear that from a threat standpoint, things are okay from that nature, but not okay from an emotional standpoint at all. So we're still gathering more information about what took place here today. At one point, we saw them escorting children out of this building. The El Rashid School is held inside of that mosque. There, again, about 9 miles outside of downtown San Diego, and you could see how far out the police officers were, how far out the law enforcement agencies were. Again, we saw all kinds of things happening earlier. Now it's more of a kind of just trying to come to grips with what has happened there at the Islamic Center of San Diego today. We're waiting again on that press conference to happen, and just as soon as it does, if we're not here online to give it to you during Chicago Live, we of course will have it in our later shows, either the 4 or the 5 p.m. show, just as soon as they start that press conference to give us more information about this active shooter situation that they had at the Islamic Center today. But no motive as of right now. Just condolences and concern that are pouring in. Again, a security guard. Thank goodness they had a security guard, right? But a security guard that ended up losing their life today there at this Islamic Center. But for sure, children were saved, and we're still waiting on information about a suspect or suspects that were involved in this heinous incident that took place there. As we wait for that information, you know, obviously there's so much heaviness in the world, right? So many things that are just so serious and really hard for all of us to wrap our brains around from day to day. Music can be a bit of therapy, but it can also get a little testy at times as well. Going to bring in our friend Leon Rogers, radio host for WGCI. And Leon, oh my goodness, what are you thinking? I mean, Drake dropped not 1, not 2, but 3 albums. Are they any good?
Listen, Drake is doing what Drake does, being extravagant, being over the top. When we didn't hear from him for a while, we thought he was licking his wounds because he had lost to Kendrick Lamar. But actually, the man shows that he was working. Now, I personally wouldn't release 3 albums on one day. I would have staggered them out, like my good friend Zach Boog said. But he released 3 albums, and I'm going to be honest. Iceman is okay to me. I'm a huge fan of Drake when he raps, and he is rapping on Iceman. I don't like R&B Drake, so I didn't even listen to Bahabidi. I think that's the name of the 3rd album, because he's more in his R&B bag there. I don't like R&B Drake. I like sicko mode Drake when he's rapping over sick beats and he's going crazy. But for me, Maid of Honor, I like Maid of Honor. It's more upbeat, a lot of dance songs on there, and even though it's targeting the ladies, it seems like Maid of Honor is like that club vibe to get the ladies going. But Iceman, I'll give him the 2 I listen to, I'll give him 7. 7 for Iceman and 8 for Maid of Honor for me out of 10.
So are 7s and 8s enough of a comeback after what transpired between he and Kendrick Lamar?
So if Drake was doing these albums to offset the success that Kendrick had, I think that was a mistake. I think Drake just needed to come back out with music that his fans are gonna love, because his fan base is gonna push him regardless. Drake, there's really no fail for Drake when it comes to putting out an album, because he has stands like Beyonce, like Rihanna. He has a fan base like that, so they're gonna support the albums. If he put these albums out to offset Kendrick's incredible year with the They Not Like Us, with the GNX album, with the Grammys and the Super Bowl, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That took place, that happened. You took the L in the battle, that's cool. Now go forth and just keep putting out music like Drake does, and eventually become an independent artist, which I think that's his goal, to become either an independent artist or to have share in whatever company is putting out his music.
Okay, and that leads, I need to like pick apart a couple of things that you just touched on there. One, the independent artist aspect of this. There was the whole thing of him like suing and then withdrawing, and then I don't know if that came back around or not, but if he wants to get from under the label, is this not like, hey, I'm just gonna throw this music out there, some folks gonna listen, some aren't, I'm okay either way, because if they told me I need 6, I'm halfway there.
It might be. Who knows? This might be what Drake is doing to hurry up and get out from underneath that umbrella. But again, Drake's fans are still going to push the needle on his music. So even if everybody else thinks the albums are mediocre, his fans are going to say these are great albums, he's back, and we just need to get ready for more music from Drake.
Are you seeing that online though? Like, he's back, these are great?
Well, from his stands that I talk to, I have some friends that are Drake acolytes.
Okay.
And they're like, oh man, you gotta listen to the music, you gotta see the titles, and like how he's addressing stuff subliminally. Like for example, on Iceman, he has a song called Ran to Atlanta, which is kind of a play off of Kendrick Lamar's They Not Like Us, when you say you run to Atlanta to need a hit. Oh. And he's got one of Atlanta's biggest artists on the song in Future, which seems like they've made up. Okay, so you know, you got the Drake stands that are doing that. So I've just heard this. I haven't heard so much as that it's average. Might be a little bit above average, but nobody's going like, wow, this is the greatest album ever, so on and so forth.
All right. And then you said go forth. You know, is he really going forward? Because in what I have seen, it seems like he's still addressing some issues from before the beef or during the beef.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. He's talking to some people that had a lot to say. I don't get the feeling that he's shooting at Kendrick crazy, but I do feel like he's addressing the J. Coles of the world. I do feel like he's addressing the Dr. Dre's, Jay-Z, Rick Ross, anybody he feels that switch sides on him. DeMar DeRozan, he goes after him heavy. He goes after LeBron heavy. Anybody that he feels was not in his corner when he was going through what he was going through, you know, being called a PDA, a PDF and all that, he's shooting at them. Yes, no doubt. Drake is, I don't know what, I'm not into the zodiac, but whatever sign is petty that comes back, that's Drake. Or whatever sign it is. I'm not into the zodiac, so I wouldn't know. But that petty sign that be like, oh, I remember what you did, and you got to stay on that side now. He's doing that 100%.
Have we gotten? Oh, go ahead.
The only person I've seen him, like I said, make up with is Future.
Are we hearing from any of the other people that he addressed, though? Like you said, LeBron or, you know, I'm sure Jay-Z wouldn't respond to it, but, you know, are we hearing from maybe Rick Ross? He had that thing the other day where he was like, you know, play the cut minus Drake. So right. Are we hearing from those folks?
Well, Rick Ross has been on record saying that the album is meh, you know, but it's like, you know, hey Rick, I don't really think you want to get into a war of words with Drake. I don't think he wants to do that. And also too, Drake's coming out at a time. Think about it, Nita. You got Usher and Chris Brown about to go out on tour, right? Chris just dropped new music. Jay, everybody's thinking after these concert dates, he's gonna be coming with something. right? So Drake really dropped at a time where attention is everywhere. Attention is everywhere. So, you know, listen, I'm not the hugest of Drake fans, but I respect his talent. Drake is one of the most talented artists we've seen on the hip hop side in a while. And he's gonna go down in history as one of them. I don't like sing-songy Drake. I like my hip hop. I like my rappers to rap, you know, and that's fine. He does that for the ladies. That's cool. That's his fan base. I get it. He's the modern day LL Cool J. Just sings, right? But when Drake is rapping, he is tough to beat, and I'll give him props on that. But for the albums, for me, they weren't bad, but I wasn't blown away either. I wouldn't be like, oh, these are classics. You know, he's got other albums that are better than that.
Okay. Now, because you mentioned some of the other things that are coming up, and yeah, I've heard mixed reviews even on Chris Brown's latest album, but what are some of the things that are on the horizon, or folks that you're hearing have yet to drop? I mean, everyone was even doing the mathematical equations for the possibility of Beyonce dropping on 5/1 and all of this stuff, and that didn't come to fruition. But what are we hearing is possibly on the way for the summer?
I think the main thing everybody is focused on is this Usher Chris Brown tour. How is that going to go? These two titans on tour together. And again, Jay-Z, the mysterious Jay-Z, who we haven't heard put out music in ages. His wife has been carrying the team as far as music goes, right? Is he gonna drop something after he does this Reasonable Doubt show in New York, in
the
Bronx,
anniversary,
Stadium, Blueprint 2, and then he's got the extra innings on that Sunday? Is he gonna say, hey, boom, new album coming? And then as producer, one of his producers, Young Guru, he kind of put a cryptic message out there. Like, who knows? That's Jay. He said, you know, he had to check a Guru had to check a young producer that was talking crazy. He said, I'm gonna have to show y'all coming soon. So like, you know, it's like agitating a hornet's nest. Like, when are they gonna come out and start stinging? We don't know. But for right now, Drake's got the spotlight. What he does with it, me personally, I kind of agree with my brother Zach Bug. I wouldn't have put out 3 albums at the same time. I'd have staggered them and try to maximize on each one of them as much as I could. But hey, like you said, Drake might be trying to break his chain and get free and get all the money to himself.
Is there anything else that's out right now that's like a fave of yours at the moment?
I'm really starting to love some of these R&B guys that are out. I was put up on this brother named Elamine, who's amazing R&B artist. Gordon, he's amazing R&B artist. There's a lot of R&B artists out now. But me, I'm a old school hip hop guy. Check out The Vault on V103 Saturday nights from 9 to 10. But I'm really into the old school hip hop sound, or into the gritty street sound, like guys like Griselda, Conway the Machine. I'm listening to a lot of surprisingly, I've been trying to get through J. Cole's album. A lot of songs.
You don't like your rappers to sing.
Well, no, it's yeah, I don't like them to sing, and it's gonna be a double CD, which I don't mind, because I come from the era when Wu-Tang did double CDs and Tupac did it. But they gotta be hitting, man. It's gotta be bangers. Like, I gotta be fired up. It's like studying for a test. You gotta take a break sometimes, right? Or you get frustrated. Like, but if it's everything's flowing and you really loving the subject matter that you're reading, that hour and a half, 2 hours goes by.
That is true.
So even with the Chris Brown, I like a lot of the stuff Chris Brown has on the album, but sometimes I get a little, all right, let me get up and go clean up. Because this is,
there were a lot of songs on there. He had a lot to get off his chest.
Yeah, and I ain't mad at him. But I'm really excited about this concert, about this tour. Jay, I'm excited about Jay. I think that's gonna be amazing. But again, I'm really like, is Jay gonna drop music? That's really all that. Like, I can't. Is Jay gonna drop?
All right. Well, we shall see. The summer will be what the summer is going to be. We're just going to be glad that the summer comes around.
And can he do it like his wife?
Now that's a tall order. That's a really tall order.
Gonna be some arguing in that house.
It's gonna be back to the Grammy days when they were both up for something, and then you look at them and they're like,
Please stop. Take out what? Cook what? I ain't cooking the damn thing. You do it. I'm 9 Grammys more than you, buddy.
Something tells me neither one of them is doing any of that. Leon, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, have a good rest of your day. We just have a bit of time left here, everyone. So instead of taking a break, which, you know, laughter can be, music can be, to help just kind of levitate, just kind of help to give us a bit of respite from the heaviness of the things that our country, that our world is dealing with right now. I'll let you know before we send you to the 4 o'clock show, just a bit of new information that I have here as I'm looking for the San Diego shooting that took place. So again, this was an active shooter situation that happened there at the Islamic Center of San Diego, which is about 9 miles outside of San Diego. We have just learned that a security guard was shot in this incident, but the San Diego police say that the threat has been neutralized. So at the very least, there is 1 person who is dead, possibly more. We did see them escort children out, though, from the El Rashid school connected to that mosque. So we're glad that the security guards could at least keep the children safe, but we're not sure right now of the totality of what has taken place there. Still waiting on a press conference that could be happening any minute now. They are staging for that. The Islamic Center says on its website that they work with the larger community to try to
I gotta take shots at Charles Barkley. He is such an impressive guy. If I had a cap, I would throw it up in the air like Mary Tyler Moore to congratulate him. Oh, seriously. Don't we have a cap? Please, someone just give us a cap. See you tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
So to show up in May and have a bunch of demands seems like late in the game.
The governor and mayor clash on the Bears, and Pritzker did not hold back.
A mother